Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Pod Fruit, One Piece Through New Eyes. On today's episode, we will be discussing Volume 12, entitled The Legend Begins. Volume 12 covers chapters 100 through 108. I am the host, Michael, and with me, as always, we have our One Piece rookies, V and Dylan.
Hi!
Hello.
It's good to be back. We had a wonderful time on our vacation.
We
and I finally got to... Yeah, vacation's never long enough. And then you need to, recover from the vacation.
Right.
Vacation is work in and of itself, but it's fun work. We're glad to be back in the studio. Excited to get down to business here. I do want to take a moment to remind you that we would love for you to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and or Discord for all the latest announcements, information, and, of course, fun. We're pretty fun people, I like to think.
I think so. I mean, after having spent a week with those guys, I can say that they're pretty fun, especially when they have access to, drinks galore.
Limitless alcohol, yeah.
There was a limit.
Well, limitless. It was just a high limit, but yes. Michael pushed it.
Yeah, right. I tried. You can find us on Twitter at PodFruit, Instagram, it's PodFruit, and our Discord is linked in the description. We would love if you gave us a follow and a review as well. Let us know what you like or what you don't. We love feedback. So, I'm going to go ahead and break down my little summary I have here. This one I wrote myself, no help from Viz. Let's begin. As the Straw Hats try to flee the island, Marine Captain Smoker gets in their way, but with the help of a mysterious man named Dragon, escapes. The Straw Hats finally enter the Grand Line by crossing Reverse Mountain, where they are swallowed by the giant whale Laboon. In its stomach, they meet Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday, who are trying to kill the whale to feed their village, and Crocus, Laboon's caretaker. Luffy impulsively gives Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine a ride to Whiskey Peak, their home village. Their arrival is celebrated by the townspeople, who turn out to be bounty hunters for Baroque works. With his crew asleep after the party, Zoro must fight the bounty hunters himself. And that is our summary for Volume 12 here. And today we are going to start with V, so Chapter 100.
Okay, Chapter 100. My first thoughts was, I thought it was a really good way to kick off the new arc. The first page, just in and of itself, I feel exudes ambiance and epicness. We're getting some callback to some lore. We're reestablishing where we left off. I was quite happy with how it began. And then on top of that, we have a beautiful 2-page spread of the Straw Hats. Honestly, when I started reading that chapter, that volume, I kind of felt at home. I was like, I'm back home now. I'm back in my book. I'm back in my manga. Just seeing the familiar faces we've come to love was really great. And yeah, I really liked the image of the skull with the swords crossing and the treasure coming out of its mouth. It was a nice, detailed Jolly Roger, which we don't really get a whole lot of in the manga in general.
Right,
usually,
they're very minimalistic.
They're minimalistic, more simplistic than that, and that felt opulent, right? And to me, it was just screaming, "We're back, baby!" And I was like, "Yay!"
We really couldn't have picked a better time to go on vacation because
right?
we literally ended an entire 100.
Saga, yeah. Ended
yeah,
the East
that
Blue.
Was
and then
amazing timing.
And
yeah.
you mentioned the Jolly Roger, which it's funny because the cruise went to Nassau. Nassau used to be a pirate confederacy. So I went to the pirate museum because I like pirates and stuff. They're fun. There's a little trivia. They had little trivia questions. It's guess true or false, and then you lift the thing to find out what it was. And,
Did you get all of them right?
well, no. The one that really surprised me was the Jolly Roger thing. It's the Jolly Roger, the skull and crossbones. That is more. It's not as popular. It's what you think. I was oh well, yeah, because you see all these different. Because I was thinking Blackbeard doesn't have it.
Right.
Captain Kidd, don't think he had it either. But then I looked at
different pirates have different flags.
Yeah, it's you had some that had their own specialty flags, but the vast majority did have. Maybe it wasn't the main focus, but the Jolly Roger was on it. I was like, that's really cool. And there's only one instance of recorded walking the plank. That really surprised me too. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so we're picking things back up in Logtown, Logtown. That pronunciation. Let's keep that
Roguetown
one.
also is an option.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You know what? I think I would prefer Roguetown. It just feels better to me. And I had a really good chuckle. Mid page 5, Buggy gets angry at his own reference to a nose joke. It's like he says the joke and then he suddenly accuses someone else from saying, are you saying I have a big red nose? And I was just like, okay, Buggy, we need to sit you down and you need therapy about this nose thing because you're not we need to talk about this. Like, you need to get over this trauma. Yeah, the kind of like self-conscious paranoia thing was fun. And, you know, we haven't seen much of Buggy lately, ever since his own little arc. So it seems like he has not changed that much. And then he turns into a car?
Yeah.
I literally said in my notes, I have no words. And as I am here today...
That's a Ford buggy. That's a 96 Ford buggy.
What was that cartoon where, like, they had, like, there was a buggy like that, but it was basically just like a Scooby-Doo?
All I know of is Wacky Racers. That's the only thing that comes to mind.
He was part of it. I remember he was part of it. I can't... anyways.
We'll circle back to that.
That's gonna bug me.
But yeah, that was my chop car. What the fuck? Yeah, and I was also happy to see that we're getting a little bit more substance from Captain Smoker. We're getting kind of a preview of what his abilities are, which has to do with producing smoke. Big surprise, Mr. Walking Cancer here. And then at first I was thinking he just smoked a lot, but it turns out that he has powers of the plume fruit is how I would pronounce that.
I wonder if that's why he smokes so much.
Right? Like, which
2
came
cigars
first?
at a time.
Yeah. He's like smoking
The chicken or the egg? Which came first, the smoke or the fruit? But yeah, so we're meeting another person touched or cursed by a devil fruit. And then...
I like that, touched or cursed. Good.
Wow.
Yeah.
It can be both, right?
Yeah.
And then, as if he wasn't cool enough, Captain Smoker has a sweet-ass trike.
I don't know, it's a tricycle.
Why is there not a one-piece kart racing game?
Right? Imagine
God,
that.
So
but I think
chaotic.
those are like the motorcycles that have 2 wheels in the back and 1 in the front. I think are actually called trikes in the motorcycle universe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Here in America, we call them losers.
No, I see some rich motherfuckers riding those on the road.
I would want to ride one of those. I'm not rich, but I would
I don't think that
certainly
being
want to
rich
ride.
makes you cool either. Just putting that out there.
I mean, I'll hang out with you if you are.
Do you have
Please
a
buy me
pool?
stuff.
Can I bring my friends? Yeah, so sign me the fuck up. I would love to ride on Captain Smoker's trike, and that is not a euphemism for anything.
As our resident thirst expert,
Yes.
Smoker, is he...
Yes.
Does he got
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
Looks like Sid. It looks like Sid from Final Fantasy. Yeah. No homo, but yeah, I see it.
Yeah. No homo, but I would suck his dick. Anyway, yes. Yes, Smoker. Yes, for sure. For sure. He's not Zorro, but
That's because he's not mysterious. If he was mysterious, oh my god.
Oh my god.
He's so emotional, but he won't show it.
I love men that I can fix. Or they can try to fix. Anyway. Yeah, also happy to find out that the merry-go has not been burnt down yet, because that is something that was hinted at earlier in the, I think the previous volume or the one before, I can't remember exactly, but that was something that was referenced. I did quite enjoy the little bit of interaction that we get between Tashigi and Zoro at page 11 when she calls him out on not revealing his identity and him saying that she didn't say that she was in the Navy. For some reason, I was like, this kind of smells like a ship. Like one of those romance ships. I
see more Luffy Zoro ships.
I mean...
There's a fanfic for that.
Oh, 100%. You mean one fanfic? Several fanfics, for sure.
The fanfic is real.
I was wondering if that wasn't an actual, like, drop of a hint of something going on between these two characters. Although I'm always partial to the ships that will never be canon, because I live in fantasy. It's fine.
Ship Sanji and anyone who will look at him.
Anyone who breathes.
Anyone who can fog a mirror.
Yeah.
I mean, it is Sanji. You have boobs? Yes.
I get that.
So we kind of enter into what I think is interesting conversation territory as kind of this part of the story progresses. I'm not sure how I feel about how many things are about gender in that section. On the one hand, I'm happy to see that there's representation of women fighters in the manga, and I can certainly relate to some of the sentiments that are being expressed. But I also feel like there's a lot of emphasis being put on it, and I hope that it doesn't become a cheap, overused trend to the point that it makes it looks bad on the cause, right? For example, Sanji pointing out that Zoro is attacking a girl, and Tashigi asking if he's not killing her because she's a woman. I was from Sanji's point of view, just being the type of character that he is, it makes sense to me that he was like, "Oh, you're attacking a woman? How weird?" Because obviously Sanji just wants to get in their pants. But the fact that she then made it about her being a woman felt a little, I don't want to say forced, but I didn't feel like it needed to be there necessarily. And like, I am a diehard feminist, like really. I don't want it to, like I said, I don't want it to become overused, and I don't want it to cheapen what feminists actually fight for. But that's my little soapbox on that subject. I do enjoy that Zoro admits what's been bothering him about her. And I think that's just something that I enjoy about Zoro in general, is that he is self-aware. We've seen it with Mihawk when he completely admits defeat and admits that he is not at the level that he should be to fight him. And I like that about him a lot. It is one of the reasons why I thirst so heavily on Zoro, is I like the way he looks, but I also like his personality. And that is something I do quite enjoy about him. In the middle of the interaction between Luffy and Smoker at page 19, is that it?
19, Dragon shows up.
Right, exactly. So we see the guy that I didn't know that his name was Dragon. We see the guy from the very beginning stepping in, and I really liked the artwork on that page. Especially the very first panel when you see him kind of towering over Smoker, and the shape of him with the cape and the onomatopoeia and the like heavy shadowing that's being done. I thought that was a really good panel in terms of artwork. And then so the Wind Blast gives the Straw Hats an out, which is rather serendipitous, and they flee, but it's hard to say if the intent there is positive or not. Maybe it's just about fulfilling Luffy's destiny, but we'll see. We do not know exactly at this point. We don't know. What we do know is that they're off to the Grand Line, and that it's happening. It's happening.
There will be
right
answers, but there will be many more questions as we get to them.
Yeah. And I think, we've already kind of touched on the topic of destiny with regards to Luffy, and that's something that happened in, when they just get into Roguetown and he's
and he's on the Executioner's platform. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that is, it's not necessarily new information to us. But I feel like this is shaping up to be a very important plot point, and I have my theories on that. Anyway, we can talk about it during the live stream. And then, again, we kind of get one of those moments where they all kind of reiterate their goals over pages 24 and 25. Judging by the top of page 25, though, I am becoming more and more convinced that Oda has a thing for feet, because they do a circle with their feet.
You're just now becoming more convinced.
No. Well,
he's the Quentin Tarantino
of manga. I already have very, very, very strong indications that might be the case. But then that's like, okay, really? And then you see the Tozy Wozies, Yeah.
They don't seem to be like sexualized or anything.
No,
but
it's just...
they're definitely there.
They're there. Yeah, exactly. And then, the chapter finishes on a great half page of the ship on the stormy seas and the lighthouse in the distance. Again, really good, nice, detailed, shaded in art style that I've come to enjoy and consider as treats when reading the manga. And that's what I have for chapter 100. Overall, I thought that was a pretty good way to get us back on the story. Dylan?
Yeah, just to go back to what you touched on with the first panels before the actual title
The cover page?
Yeah, the whole, these things cannot be stopped. Inherited strength
the first page.
One's dreams, the ebb and flow of the ages. As long as the people hunger for freedom, these things will exist. Gold Roger, King of the Pirates. I like that, because, like, all we got from Gold Roger started with is like, hey, I got a lot of money, go find it, I'm dead now. So it's kind of a little more... And it kind of adds a little bit of the mystique to Dragon, because, like, I think, is this the first time we've seen him?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay, and it's just, like, a mysterious, like, Sith-looking motherfucker, Gold Roger quote, and it's like, oh, pirate, not a bad idea. And it's like, are you supposed to be some, like, physical representation of fate itself? Is that the angle?
Dropping theories?
We're going for? And I love that, it opens up and fucking... Buggy. I was like freaking out. I was like, oh, we're gonna go kill him. And it was like, oh my god, you're alive? You got struck by lightning while holding a metal rod.
Fate. Maybe Buggy is the fated one.
Yeah.
Maybe he also has a little rubber in him too. And again, the whole like thing, it's like, I could beat him with my nose. Who you saying's got a big nose? It's like, there he is.
And the guy in the back's like, I didn't say anything.
It's like, what are you talking about? It's like the robber nose. Rubber nose! Yeah. It's like, no, wait. Please. Chop card, a good little bit of body horror on that one. It's like, gross. Alvida's, I'm interested to see more of Alvida's powers, because like the whole like...
Yeah, you are. Sorry.
I mean, hey, look at them tootsies, they're out and present. But it's like the whole like Frozone-esque kind of movement style, where it's like she's just skating along the ground. That's kind of cool. I'm interested to see more of that.
You can't suck on her toesies. Your mouth would just slip right off.
Yeah. That's what makes it hot. And then seeing Smoker's powers, because from what I'm picking up from it, it's like he can just completely turn his body into smoke, but instantaneously hard. And so I'm assuming he's smoke, and then split second, turns into a physical fist, hits the shit out of somebody back into smoke. The trike, well, it is a trike, and trike's kind of, a little bit lame. The way it's powered, where it's like he's generating smoke and just using that smoke on his feet to generate, like, power a turbine. That's cool.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Yeah, because that's what he's doing. He's blowing the smoke into a turbine.
I bet he can get some serious RPMs on that bad boy.
Yeah, no, it's like, okay. And it's like, and the big tires, like, that's all terrain. He can go through soft sand with them bad boys. And then the net, which they said, I guess the net's called a prison bullet, which it's a net. Why call it a bullet? But the fact that it's developed to negate devil fruit powers, and the fact that that technology exists in this world.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting to see what we're going to have going forward, considering apparently the Grand Line is full of devil fruit users. So it's like, okay, we're probably going to see a lot more of this kind of stuff. And then you got Richie and whatever the other guy's name is. The not lying guy. I love that it's like he's trying to set it on fire. He's like, oh, I can't set it on fire. It's like, well, one, yeah, it's raining.
It's fucking raining, you dumbass.
And also, two, you're trying to set a boat on fire with matches.
I can... With Buggy as his captain, I can see Buggy handing him matches and being like, get it done.
Yeah, and it's going to be just like Survivor. It's going to be like a Buggy, I ran out of matches. It's like, for a boat, like, yes, wood does catch fire, but boats were built with the intent to be somewhat fire resistant, so just matches ain't going to cut it. Now, if you're on the boat at the powder reserves, that shit would go up. But I love freaking the panel where it's like, you lot, get away from the ship. And it's like, huh, who's that? And it's, you see freaking Usopp standing out there, and like the way he draws his legs so you can obviously see that he's shaking in his boots in that silhouette. I love that. And then Usopp's face, just that micro panel of the stereotypical like anime, what face? Great.
I didn't even need to see the face. When you just said it, I knew exactly what face you were talking about.
And like thinking Speed Racer looking surprised. There you go. And then he shoots the egg star and misses, and the lion's like, ooh. I am a little hungry.
Don't mind if I do.
Snacks is the way to deal with Richie. So keep that in mind.
He's just a little guy.
And then I love the cut of them running through the town. One, just because I like seeing the background setting of like the... Because I also would say the town setting almost looks like Venetian or like Gothic with the way it's set up.
But like narrow streets, tall buildings.
Oh no, that masonry.
Chef's
kiss. That's some good masonry, I tell you what. But just the picture you seeing Zolo running the 3 swords on his belt. Sanji, it's just something about the art of that panel. Like I really like the way it's like if there's a poster.
It's dynamic.
And of course Sanji like immediately locks in on Stairway to Heaven 2.0. Which I have a theory after this interaction and everything. I've had a wild theory that turned out to be correct. I'm guessing maybe she didn't die. Maybe she went comatose.
Maybe she lost her memory.
And lost her memories.
Yeah, maybe it's amnesia thing.
Because I mean, looks the exact same way. And the thing is, like, even if you lost your memories, if you spent that much time training with something, yeah, your memories are gone, but your body, and your muscle memory is still there.
That would make sense with what I was saying earlier about her making something about her being a woman. Because that was a subject of conversation at the very beginning with Zoro. Yeah,
and like and her mannerisms being like spot on. It's just like, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Could it be? And the thing is, when she's like, "Why didn't you kill me? Is it because I'm a woman?" I took that as like, no, it's not. It's because he's looking at you the way Mihawk looked at him.
Oh,
it's
maybe
like, you have the potential to be a challenger. I want to see where you go from here. Get stronger. That's what I took. He didn't say anything, but that's what I took away from that interaction.
It could be.
And then he snaps on her. It's like, oh, I wish I were a man. He's like, shut the hell. That's not the problem. Like, quit making that the issue. Just be better. And the thing with Smoker, it's like, yeah, he's got the cigars. I don't think I've ever seen him actually smoking them.
He's just holding them in his teeth
he's just holding
the
them
whole
in his
time.
mouth. Yeah. And the thought of it is like, oh, you know how like fucking soggy and how much the leaf wrapper is like splitting off into his mouth. While
I've heard of people who quit smoking but still keep something in their mouth to like
oral
give them.
When I lived in Charlotte,
yeah.
When I lived in Charlotte, there was an old dude never smoking the cigar. Every time he was out there doing his yard work, just kept it in his mouth, was chewing on it. It's just like, all right, could still get mouth cancer from that, but it's not as bad as putting back a stogie or two a day. But And another thing that I picked up looking back at it again is when Sanji kicks Smoker in the face, his face dissipates, but then reforms a little bit, and he looks him dead in the eye and says, I have no time for small fry.
Yeah.
That's something Sanji has said before.
Yeah, well, on the Baratier, they were...
Don Krieg, yeah. He was like, I don't have time for small fry. And it's just like that. I was like, okay. Okay. Where are you getting this tie from? And then, like, it just... And I want to say this seems like Smoker is the first opponent who has ever just like flat out handled Luffy. Because I think other times Luffy got beat up, but eventually like hell was holding his own. But this time it's just like no,
instant submission.
Smoker just had him beat from the start.
Right, but he's also not like harming him that much. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like this is more about like evading one another and trying to gain control, but he's not actively trying to hurt him, is the feeling I get, like I said.
Yeah, it's more of like, more of judo versus like Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Where it's like more like body control as opposed to actual striking.
Right, but I feel like, for example, for thinking about Don Krieg, to me, or several of our past villains, so to speak, there was an intent to kill, there was an intent to hurt, right? But I feel like in this case, it doesn't feel like that. It's more about, let's get him alive, right?
Yeah, very much, I can agree with that 100%. The way, like you were saying, the scenery of Dragon on display, where it's like, the way he's drawn, besides like his hand and his face, there's just a lack of color. It's like, maybe it's a cloak, who knows? It's just, it seems just to be a void. And the wind blast, it's like, okay, I'm guessing with that wind blast, you got some kind of fucking devil fruit shit going on. And the last line he hits with the, what reason would I have to get in the way of another man's voyage? And just a lot of the stuff he said, the world is waiting for our answer. Like, it's all really cryptic. And it's just like,
Smoker recognized him right away.
Yeah, immediately. It's just, I don't know. It's like, there's other stuff that gets brought up later too that's starting to make me think maybe some of the characters we're seeing are former crewmates of King of the Pirates. It's cool to see how like the adversaries all kind of like gather up, regroup. It's like, all right, now let's go to the Grand Line and get them. And like how like You see Luffy Screw do it. You see Buggy and them do it. You see Smoker and I forget her name do it as well. And Buggy's line, how nostalgic, the grand line. So, okay. You know, most people would go for a handshake, but I guess pulling a barrel in the middle of the boat and putting your feet on it. It's another...
That'll do.
Another way to be like, yeah, we're going to do it. And it's like, normally it's like high fives, team on 3. That's something I'm used to. The whole foot thing's a little odd, but it's kind of cool that you get to see the determination to, that like you see like kind of etched in their face the way it's drawn out. It's, you see the determination, the excitement of them actually going to chase their dreams. It's like, oh, we're here. Like this is really happening. Let's fucking do it. I like that a lot. And then the last line with the merry-go heading towards the lighthouse, just chef's kiss. Love it.
It was a good panel.
Yeah, that's all I got. Well, a lot of interesting stuff. Like the first chapter definitely was like, ooh, okay. I'm excited to get to the Grand Line. This is getting interesting. Yeah. That's all I got on that one.
So, yeah, I thought this chapter brought up a lot of interesting plot points, things to ponder and look forward to seeing more of. And yeah, I thought it was a really good way to kick things off after our vacation. I thought that this picked up after the previous Logtown adventure we had in a really awesome way. We meet a mysterious figure named Dragon. Who knows what he may add or not add to the story. I did notice something that I had never noticed before. The wind blast, when it happens, someone's shouting wind blast as if it's an attack, but it doesn't seem to be attributed to any one person. My assumption is that Dragon did something, but I don't know. And as you can see, it blew all the way through the whole town. Like Buggy, wherever he is, they've got to be a couple blocks away from the executioner's area, based on the chase.
That is a good point. Based on the way that town is set out, if there was a really strong gust of wind, it would channel down those streets the way they're set up.
Yeah, so I
know Seattle has issues like that.
Very well may be a natural phenomenon, but it makes me wonder. Again, that's something I had noticed in my own One Piece experience. But yeah, V, I wanted to bring, I think you touched on it pretty well here, but I wanted to bring up the Tashigi Zoro interaction. I wish I were a man, blah, blah, blah. And I really wasn't sure what Oda was really trying to get at here. I know that, early 2000s, we did not have the same understanding of feminism and along those lines that we do now. And I felt like if there was a message in this, it was kind of muddled. I didn't feel like it was particularly feminist, but I couldn't say that it was also like not misogynistic, chauvinistic. I guess. Is that like, am I missing something here? Or does that feel?
That feels right to me, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying. Is if you're trying to bring up issues like those, and I think, for example, when we really got into Benmaya's story, when you're addressing a sensitive topic, there's a way to present things, and just kind of throwing it around like that without really getting into it, to me, feels gratuitous.
Like, just either do it or don't.
Or don't.
Right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And like I said, you nailed it. If you're going to do it properly and actually get into it. But if you're just going to be throwing it around casually without saying much of anything, without actually trying to convey a message, you should abstain and keep it for a maybe more meaningful moment.
Yeah, have a real discussion.
Right. But that makes me wonder if it's not sort of tied to Dylan's theory about that having been a point of contention and dialogue before.
Draw the Kina issue back.
Right, exactly. So maybe it can be excused in that sense, but if you're purely talking about kind of like the feminist attempt here, I would have rather it just not be there and it be addressed in a different, more meaningful way later.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I wasn't too off base. As someone who's not a woman, spoiler alert, I just didn't know exactly how to take that. I'm going to go ahead and put myself out there as a feminist as well. I think women should do all the work and we should stay home. Just hang out.
Wait a minute.
It's what you wanted, all right.
Yeah. I can dream,
I'm kidding.
And then, You guys kind of touched on it, but I found the team, the crew, putting their feet on the barrel, declaring their goals and everything to be a very powerful couple panels. Usopp didn't get a close-up, though. When he's stating his dreams.
That's true, yeah. Everyone
it's just
else
all
does.
Of them.
Yeah.
But,
it's like, you're still kind of a wuss,
yeah.
so we're not going to give
and
you a
then,
panel.
yes, shout out to the final panel. Hell of a final panel.
Oh, yeah.
And then...
I would hang a painting of that in my room.
Yeah, right. That'd be a great panel no matter what the context, One Piece or not, yeah. But, yeah, that's really all I had. I thought this chapter was a very awesome way to pick things up. It introduced a lot of mystery. It introduced some fun moments, Buggy and his little, comic relief moments and all that jazz that goes along with it. I thought it had a little bit of everything, and I thought it did it well. And yeah, those are my thoughts on 100. Dylan, you're going to kick off 101.
Yeah, and the cover page, back to the Helmeppo Kobe Chronicles. Just the travails of Kobe and Helmeppo, Volume 16, hindering a hindrance to the hindrance of the artillery attack. It's like, what the fuck?
I didn't even read the title of that.
That's like, geez Louise. And it's like, I kind of like the way they're done, because it's like, it tells a bit of story, but it leaves it light enough that it just kind of like sends your mind racing with what's actually going on with it. So, I'm a big fan. I paid attention to all those. And it's like, okay, let's see the story, because Garp or whoever he is, I'm very interested in him.
The doggy boy.
Yeah. And then I love how we open up. It's like they're looking out for the lighthouse, trying to navigate to the entrance. And for someone who can't swim, it's odd that the way he likes to hang out on the boat is hanging upside down from the figurehead.
Yep.
It's like, that doesn't.
That was in my notes. That was the first thing in my notes, Dylan. I said
like a
ballsy.
good idea.
It's a special seat.
Not a seat.
Yeah. And they're all talking and everything. It's like, yeah, it's like I know what to do. It's like the light's gone. It's like that happens. We finally get. It's like, oh yeah, to get to the Grand Line, you have to travel up a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, interesting. And I also love the middle panel. Just kind of them all sitting at the table, but it's just like seeing the background of it being the galley, and seeing that laid out. I like that a lot. It adds to because now like when I see the merry-go, I can imagine the scene of like, oh no, now it's the merry-go starting to feel a little homey. Mm-hmm. We get our first like real big like weather shift, and it's like, oh no, we're in the calm belt, and it's like, okay, I have no idea what that means. It's like, okay, no wind, that's cool, but then you find out you get that awesome 2-page spread. It's like, oh, the calm belt on the other side of the Grand Line is where these crazy, humongous sea monsters breed. And just to look at the panel after that and like seeing everyone's horrified faces.
I love a good bit of shading.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's so good. It's like the way they drew Usopp, it's just like he saw it and just decided to like crack a fucking cyanide capsule and throw him in the mouth. It's like, oh man, he just...
I can see that.
Because before they're like, why do we have to row? Because it's funny, because like before this happens, like, all right, we need to row. It's like, oh, it's a sail ship. Why are you going to row? And then after they see it, like all the guys now have oars and they're like, oh, as soon as we get back to the water, we're going to start rowing immediately. It's like, Nami knows what she's talking about. Shut the fuck up and listen. They finally get back in the storm, and then like, it's more like, this is a lot of like kind of explaining, like this chapter, like I feel like I don't have much to say about it because it's more just explaining navigating to the entrance and getting into the entrance is a lot of what it is. Which the thing is like, oh, all these currents are flowing to the same way and it's pushing you up the mountain because all the currents are converging at this one spot. And then they go for it, and of course the whip staff breaks, which is fun, which I also think a whip staff for that big of a ship is just really weird and not... Like, the thing about a wheel is it's set up on a pulley system, so it takes a little less effort to turn harder, whereas a whip staff, it's like, no, you're physically fighting against the weight of the ship and the currents you're in. And imagine that, it broke because you're in really high currents and you're trying to turn a big-ass ship. But I love the way that, because Luffy's like, man, like, you put him in a pinch, it's actually kind of smart. In a dumb way.
He's
the
ballsy.
fact that they're going to crash. Yeah, they're going to crash, and he like without this gum balloon and uses that to bounce them into the entrance.
Gotta think fast for that one, and he did.
Yeah.
To his credit, as someone that I think maybe doesn't usually think fast, I was impressed.
Right.
But seeing that, like, that to me was like looking at him, it's like, oh man, he's actually got like a really firm grasp upon his powers and what he can do with his powers.
He did eat the fruit at a very young age.
Yeah, that is true, because it was like 10 years after he ate it.
Yeah, when
he finally set sail. So yeah, and I love the just the scene of the victory. It's like, all right, we're in. Everybody's like, woohoo, cheering on the front of the boat. That's a great shot. I love that a lot. But yeah, I mean that's they successfully got to the Grand Line. Like I said, again, a lot of this is more explaining the navigating to and getting into the Grand Line. So I didn't really have a lot to say, but that's pretty much all I got in that one. Not a bad chapter, just informative. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yes. In general, Oda does really well at establishing context and setting and bringing us back to the essence of what One Piece is. And I feel like the beginning of this chapter really nails that on the head. We have Luffy monkeying around on the figurehead, being confused about the lighthouse and thinking for some reason that Nami wants to steal his spot. Nami, meanwhile, is in her element. She's ready to tackle the task ahead and trying to get Luffy to behave, and everyone is confused. And I feel like if that doesn't capture the essence of the Straw Hats, I don't know what does. Like, it's very Straw Hats. And I love establishing that. I feel like, especially we're now coming back from them being in danger, and then they get out of danger, and then they get into danger again. But to have those moments in between where they're so very themselves, I love that. I think, and that. Also in terms of storytelling, it's great. It helps with the pacing. And later on in that same volume, we do have other moments where they're so very typically themselves. And yeah, I live for those moments. I also liked seeing, and I think that kind of, weirdly enough, comes back to me enjoying the shaded in type of artwork. I liked the drawing style with the rain pouring down. For some reason, that caught my eye. And like we see at the bottom of page 2, when like Nami is in the rain and there's rain coming down on her hood and on her face, it's very immersive, I thought. I really enjoyed the panel on top of page 4 that illustrates Usopp thinking about how a ship could scale a mountain, like mid page 4, and oh boy, that's right above the ship. For some reason, it's like I could see the cogs turning in his head, and to actually see the image of what he is imagining, I thought was really clever, and I really like that. We have a little bit of insight or nuance, and it's a complicated thing to talk about when we're talking about Luffy, but at page 5 he says it'd feel all wrong if we didn't go through the entrance. I think I've come to realize that I have yet to understand this guy's sense of morality. Like, what is right and what is wrong in Monkey D. Luffy's head? You know what I mean? Like, what are his morals? I feel like he has
an idea of how things should be.
Right.
And how they should go. And it's really difficult for him to consider anything else.
Right.
That's what you're talking about. It's called an entrance. We have to go through it.
I feel like that gives us a little sprinkle of the tism. As people who are neurodivergent and who know other people that are neurodivergent, it feels like there's a little bit of tism here.
Like there's imagine this. You're in a, I don't know, building with a fire exit, but you're near the regular exit and there's a fire. Luffy's like, no, we have to go through the fire.
We gotta go back in.
We have to go through the fire exit. It's an exit for when there's a fire. Obviously, we can't take the regular exit.
It makes me think of like IKEAs, where it's like the goal is to have you walk through the whole thing. Yeah. But they have like signs where it's like, oh, exit this way. I've tried doing that with my dad before. It took us like 40 minutes to get the fuck out of it. Like, we hit a point where like, fuck it, no, we're just gonna walk through the whole. We're done. We're gonna walk through. We've been past the computer chairs 15 times. We need to.
IKEA's like a museum that are trying to sell you.
Yeah, IKEA feels very like.
It's like, this is back rooms.
Exactly. IKEA is the back rooms. IKEA feels like.
Well, there's an SCP about it.
There is. There is, and it's like the most. Anyway, we won't get into SCP lore, but it's like a super huge, like, unfathomably large IKEA, and then people like form like cliques, and then they have
like communities.
Communities in the IKEA, and the bad guys are the IKEA staff members. Anyway.
Oh my god.
Yeah, at night they turn feral.
Exactly.
During the day they're just like, oh, can I help you find anything?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Awesome. At night, check that out.
SCP. Yes, IKEA feels very much like a linear space. What were we talking about?
Going through entrances opposed
yes, exactly. Exactly. So yes, I was just talking about how I felt like Luffy's sense of what is morally right is a little, I want to say, kind of childish, but also adorable to me. Like, it brings up an innocent side of him that we don't always see. Well, we do see it a lot, but he's a very nuanced character.
Tism was a great way to put it.
Right? A sprinkle. Yeah, and the next sequence of events and like of pages and panels to me, I found was really great because it puts Nami's expertise on full display. She's explaining everything that's going on, that they're in one of the calm belts, how they need to navigate the situation, pun intended. The guys are as confused as ever, and then we get a really beautiful 2-page display of the sea creatures. With one of them...
Loved it.
You know, you see the ship on the snoot of one of the sea creatures. I thought that sequence of event felt very, like, marine. Like, we're on the sea, right? And I just like that a lot. I like that setting. I like the lore building. And then just, that 2-pager is beautiful. I loved it.
He put his whole Odyssey into it.
Oh, for sure. And that's, that's kind of what I didn't say that. I didn't use the word Odyssey. But it
makes me think back to Momu, and it's like, oh shit, Momu was a very small version
as compared to these guys. But I just want to highlight Oda's talent at monster/creature design. All of them are different. They're all trying to emulate something. You know, there's like kind of a frog guy, and there's kind of a bird guy, and then, you know, like, it's so creative. It's V. It's me. But yeah, like, I love the diversity. I love the effort that's being put in it. It's a magnificent shot. And then I just...
Which one's your favorite?
The one that the ship is on. I just want to...
Yeah, he just looks like a heckin' good boy.
You see, he does. He does look like a good boy.
He really
I just want to grab his face and give him kisses on the snoot. It's like, he's so cute.
He's just a sneezy little boy.
Yeah, he is a sneezy little boy. So we do learn that they're called Neptunians. That checks out. Neptune being basically the Roman equivalent to Poseidon, the god of the seas. So that checks out. I would be curious to see them in color. I'm wondering if they have a similar color scheme, because some of them do have similar markings on them. But I would be curious to see what they look like in color. And then, yes, as Dylan mentioned, of course, a sneeze would be their downfall. Comical, dynamic, funny, really like that. And then we're going back to kind of highlighting Nami's expertise on the top of page 13. In general, Nami's navigation scenes are great. I love them. I love seeing her talent, her expertise, her wits on display. It's making her like her even more as a character. I really like her. For some reason, seeing the entrance at mid-page 15, like the entrance to the mountain, gave me roller coaster vibes, and now I just want to ride it.
That does bring me back to some of like the old wooden coaster designs.
Right. That's what it was giving me in terms of vibes, and I was like, ooh, yes, let's do it. I love roller coasters. Yeah, and as Dylan mentioned, the Gum Gum balloon came in clutch. They will need to fix the whip staff eventually. And I have to say, I didn't really expect Sanji and Usopp to be such strong boys. To break it, to me, that's Zoro behavior. That's not Sanji/Usopp behavior. And then just overall great ending to the chapter. We have nice shots of the merry-go and the crew on page 18 and 19. And, you know, the Grand Line is within sight. We're getting there. We are getting there, guys. Unfortunately for me, as kind of a heads up, the rest of the volume takes a dip for me from this point on until it picks back up again later on for reasons that will be obvious to you when we get there. But yeah.
What could it be?
Who knows? We'll find out.
Abound.
Tune in. Really, really good ending to the chapter. Like I said, that shot of the merry-go bottom of page 18 I thought was fantastic. And that's what I had for 101.
All right. So I just want to point out Luffy's massive balls. Not only sitting on the figurehead as someone who can't swim, but jumping overboard to bounce him off of a collision. Go, Luffy. You have more balls than I ever will. And he's
the captain.
He's the captain. I have no problem admitting that. Yeah, I thought this chapter was a fun way to kind of get to the Grand Line and Reverse Mountain. And the Neptunians. It's all very surreal. And I want to just kind of highlight something that I went over in my note taking, is that at first I was saying absurd. And there's a very, very real difference between absurd and surreal. Absurd is very like meaningless, pointing out the meaningless of life and the human condition and everything. Everything here had meaning once I kind of came to it. It's the danger of the Grand Line. So I was looking up stuff to see how to describe what I'm seeing. And surreal, very dreamlike, just pseudo reality, but
it's giving Dali vibes a little.
Yes.
Salvador Dali.
With the Neptunians and the mountain that you have to, do your ship up. And so I wanted to describe much of One Piece as absurd, but much of it is surreal. And I think that's an important thing to note. It's very dreamlike in that way.
I would say there are absurd moments, but in general, yes. I would agree that it is more of a surreal setting, but there are absurd moments.
Yeah, for sure. I also loved the highlight on Nami. She's one of my favorite characters in all of One Piece. I'm a big Nami stan here, so yeah. She was just, they would be dead without her. They would all have died multiple times. On a different timeline, if Nami had not been.
I for sure wouldn't have gotten here. That's for
sure.
Sure.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I thought this chapter was kind of quick, but I didn't feel like it was poorly paced at all. I felt like everything happened in a way that felt believable, and it kept fun. Yeah, this chapter was quite fun. Just to kind of summarize, it definitely acts as a bridge to a much larger thing we're getting to. It's not in and of itself, doesn't feel super problematic or significant, I guess. They're getting to where they need to go, and I think it did that in a way that kept you interested. It wasn't just, okay, we're traveling, and we're there. It was funny. It had some strong moments of tension as well. It mixed all that very well. I don't have, much more to say about it than it was a way to make getting from point A to point B fun and interesting. It was good. And yeah, that's all I had for 101. V, we'll start 102.
Yes, 102. Okay, so I'm referring back to the intro story. I'm not exactly sure what's happening with Helmeppo and Accent Morgan, but I gotta say that boy needs to settle down and take a seat. You don't talk to Captain Morgan like that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think how it got here is Captain Morgan took him hostage to get off the ship.
Right.
If I'm remembering correctly.
I think
now he's stuck with him.
Just the face he's giving is like, "You never fucking loved me, Dad!" That's just the dialogue I put in there for myself.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mess with a guy that has an axe for a hand, personally. Regardless of what he did to me.
What did he do to you?
He never hit me.
What do you... You never hit me, Dad!
Never cared enough.
Okay, so we are back. We are headed towards the Grand Line. Luffy exclaiming with enthusiasm that this is the world's greatest ocean. I have to say, I know Zoro is more brawn than brains. But I feel like the crew should have listened to him on page 3 when he says, "What was that? Did you hear something?" Maybe listen to him, because I know I would listen to him. I usually don't listen to what people tell me to do, but I would listen to Zoro.
She goes out of her way, listeners, to not do what you tell her to do. It's kind of frustrating, but we love her for it.
They tolerate it, at least.
That's probably better.
I really did enjoy seeing the 2-page spread of the whale. I think it puts things into perspective, and like that's a big whale. That's a huge whale. Just seeing it, you can see how tiny the boat is. Right against the as it's coming down the mountain towards Laboon is who we find out this is.
He's at least 15 lighthouses tall from...
Yeah. Right? Yeah, if you look at
really
the lighthouse,
hope you actually
it's
sat
right
there and measured out the
beside it.
lighthouse
Yeah.
and like frame.
That's a lot of lighthouses.
Well, when you get the scale of reference with the Neptunians, it looks like might actually be larger.
Yeah, slightly
Right,
Some of
larger.
the Neptunians was.
Yeah. He's a big boy. He is certainly a big boy. And at the time, I did note that I was wondering what could have caused it to have so many scars on his snoot, which we do find out the cause behind this a little bit later on. So, Luffy exclaims, "Hey, I've got an idea." Maybe Luffy needs to stop having ideas, because that...
It worked last time.
Yeah, but this time, that was... You know, if you put yourself in situ, you put yourself in the situation right now, that is a stupid idea. And here I thought the goal was to avoid the whale so that it wouldn't notice them. And Luffy's like, no, I'm going to do the exact opposite. And then everyone's face at the bottom of page 7 kind of says it all, with the mouths agape and the eyes rolled back, and like... Clearly, they're like, what the fuck did you just do? Also, I want to kill you. And then Luffy is very obviously brokenhearted about the figurehead that is broken, while completely ignoring the grander scheme of the situation that they're in. Very, very typical, very Luffy of him. Very short-sighted, some would say.
Yeah.
I would say that. I would say that.
All in the midst of Nami being like, oh my god, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I just died.
Exactly.
I'm dead.
Yeah. And then just the way I almost jumped out of my seat when I saw Luffy punch the whale right in the fucking eye. And the others on the page are like, you idiot. And I was like, yeah, that is the understatement of the year. At the top of, let me just identify that page. At the top of page 11, when they're all shouting, "You
I
idiot."
love Nami's face in that.
crying. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. As I said, a little bit of an understatement considering the gravity of the situation they're in. And then we get another really good shot. Again, I've come to appreciate Oda's art so much. We get a great shot of the whale's open maw and the boat being sucked in. Ooh, at page 12. And then we're like, okay, wait a minute. Why is there a hatch door on the whale? Usually, and now I'm no marine biologist, guys, but I don't think that whales are supposed to have hatch doors.
They all
on
have
them.
hatch doors.
Do they?
Yeah, it's like the blowhole.
Myth
It's actually a
busted.
hatch. Yep.
Yeah, and then just in general, the rest of this chapter had me very confused. Like, I was trying, because at the moment, again, just talking about that retrospectively, I was like trying to gather that everything was happening inside the whale, and then I was wondering, is it really a whale? Is it a submarine? Like, what?
I was getting,
like,
for sure. I was getting 20,000 leagues under the sea
right,
of the Neptune.
and I was like, what's happening? And yeah, we do get an explanation later on, but the end of that chapter had me immensely confused. But yeah, that's about all I had for 102. Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, I like the more I've looked at it, I kind of get the whole. Took a bit of a dive here. The whole there's some information we get in this whole like Laboon arc that's kind of like, okay, that is a little important, but like the whole Laboon story as in general, it's like, was it really necessary?
It felt like an encounter for encounter's sake in some ways.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, hey, I've got an idea what I want to do here, but like that's not enough, so I'm gonna throw this in here to kind of give you more time in the story. But you mentioned the cannon. You think that was a really dumb idea? I didn't think it was that dumb. Just because depending on the size of the cannon, the amount of force it generates in the opposite direction, it probably did slow the boat down.
Fair.
I think if it wasn't
Right.
for the fact that he shot the cannon, I think the ship would have been torn asunder.
I think I was...
Because all that happened was
I was thinking about it more from a trying to be sneaky perspective, but from what you're saying, it makes sense from that standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, still, is shooting a giant whale a good idea? No, it's not. But, split session.
I don't think that Luffy was thinking about the velocity of the ship, to be honest.
Oh, he was, because after he did it, he says, well, has the ship stopped?
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, it makes it, I get it, but it's like you're shooting a giant monster, not a good idea. It's like, I'm just trying to stop. And from what I pick up, it kind of worked. And then again, his whole special seat thing, just his face when he sees it is hilarious. That's the one thing. This chapter definitely did a lot of like the super goofy anime style stuff, like eyes bulging, everyone jagged teeth, mouth to their knees.
Yeah, the crew got the chance to be themselves a lot during this whole volume, I think.
And then just the punch in the eye, and immediately afterwards, the eye just thump. Like how many horror games have you seen that deal with deep sea things where the eye just looks at you?
It's terrifying.
Wow. And then with the hats thing, definitely like that immediate, and like everything going forth is just like, okay, it's like, because you run into the guy on a special little island. It's like, all right, is this fucking Captain Nemo? What's going on here? Like, huh? And then again, we do like I was mentioning, it's like, he's much larger than the other Neptunians, and it's like, oh yeah, because he's eaten one of them.
Right.
This big old squid monster.
Yeah, he sure did.
And then apparently, freaking Mr. Flower Man, which, well, never mind, it doesn't introduce him yet. But apparently he's got a ballista. He's got a ballista with harpoons like, in his house. Yeah. I like to be honest, like, where, some of this story seems like maybe not 100% necessary. I kind of did like him as a character in this whole thing of like, why are you living in here on an island in the stomach of a whale? It's like, it's a hobby. It's cool. It's like I went Truman Show with it.
I'm old.
We can talk about Crocus a little bit later on, but right off the bat, he's giving, like, Genzo vibes. He's giving poodle vibes. Like, it's this, like, very, like...
Gruff heart of gold.
Gruff heart of gold. Like, a good... I love when masculinity is represented that way. Like, it's a good representation of the goals and aspirations of a man and principles and whatnot. Like, I love male characters like that are kind-hearted and that try their best, So.
And they're happy with their situation.
Yeah.
We will see it later, but I definitely think that he was definitely part of Gold Roger's crew. There are some lines that throws out later in that I definitely think he was part of Gold Roger's crew. But yeah, that's all I got on this one.
Yeah, so I think Oda went ham on some 2-page spreads during this volume, and we're seeing the second of them. I think that's the last one. But again, the Neptunians in the previous one, the Laboon in this one, I thought really did a great job of just giving us something good to look at. Like, I want to call back to our previous volume where there was I think, a 2-pager of just like a storm and things were rough and tough, and I don't think any one of us really appreciated it all that much.
The lightning strike, that was only like a 3/4 page.
There was one where like that it had like a lot of, maybe it was during Arlong. Either way, I thought both of these popped off. Is the ultimate point. I thought that the art here was good, and I think it made up for a lack of really, truly, in my eyes, interesting storytelling. I don't think any of the storytelling was bad, and we'll get into my more grander thoughts later, of course. But yeah, Luffy having an idea, he should probably just run them by Nami first, and then execute. If
Nami's the ideal filter.
Yeah, I think she would do well. He's really letting into his impulses, which we've seen time and time again. Hatchback whale. I wrote absurd, but I want to cross that out and say surreal.
You said hatchback whale, and I'm just imagining like its tail like opens up to the trunk, and then you just load it that way. Something like hatchback.
Yeah,
cars.
Just put your luggage in the fucking whale. I did want to point out that at first I was like, yeah, inside a whale, classic trope. But all I could think of was Pinocchio. Jabu Jabu from Zelda, and Jonah, of course. Jonah, the biblical figure.
Jonah and the whale, yeah.
And I feel like I've seen this trope more than that, but I can't think of any other examples.
Like, I mean, I feel like those are pretty significant ones. Especially to me, Pinocchio was the obvious one.
But there's more. You feel like you've seen it more than just those three, right? That's the way I was feeling.
In Paper Mario also. I think Paper Mario Thousand Year Door has something inside the whale.
It's definitely
sure.
a cultural...
Well, it's just like,
oh, yeah.
the giant whale swallowing something is something that is like... It's one of those weird things where it's like a majority of the cultures of the world tie into it because they all have a story about
exactly.
Multiple religions, multiple cultures have a story about a great flood.
Yeah, and a great whale, and even in fiction and all that. Yeah, I thought it was executed well, but I was just like, oh, I can think of a million examples, and then I could only think of 3.
Yeah.
That's in our day and age. That's about close to a million.
Yeah,
inflation is nowadays.
I loved the squid. It was a momentary threat, immediately put down, but it reminded me of a blooper from Mario. I have a very soft spot in my heart for bloopers. Mario, just Mario villains or just mobs, I guess. Yeah, I have a Bob-omb tattooed on me, and
Love a Goomba, classic.
Yep. But you know,
as I call them, tips with feet.
We finally did it. These are my overarching thoughts. We finally did it. The Grand Line, we're here, kind of. We gotta get past this whale, but the crew is inside a whale, which is presumably in the Grand Line, so I think that counts. And then I also wrote, Dylan?
Oh, so you bring that up, it's like, we're at the Grand Line. It's like, knowing the scope of how much there is to One Piece, the fact that we're at the Grand Line in like
already?
Chapter 100, it's like...
Wasn't that supposed to be like the final
I thought
goal?
that was like the end all goal, and like it's like
the Grand Line spans the entire world, so it's essentially sailing around the world. But this is the chapter that really kind of had me thinking about surreal versus absurd theory, whatever you want to call it. Either way, it was silly, but not so silly as to be bad. I thought it was interesting start. But as we will see, I do think that this volume was kind of... It's not filler. It's not filler. I don't want to say that, but it definitely felt
exposition.
It's transitory. We are getting somewhere else with all of this. And yeah, that's what I had for 102. Dylan, 103.
Yeah, and I will say at the start, 103, I love how like the title, the cover page involves 2 people that have absolutely nothing to do with this chapter at all. It's like Smoker and Buggy are there. Smoker and Buggy are nowhere. Like, the only reason they're in this chapter is because they're on the cover page. Which to me was like, that's... why? Because like I was like, oh, okay, they're going to show up. That'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe they're in the belly of the whale already. Ooh.
I was thinking I was thinking that one of the previous chapters, and Buggy seems more threatening to me. He looks scarier than he used to, in my mind. Just looking at him
also,
there.
like... Again, no, kind of handsome for a clown. Look at that jawline. That's pretty sharp.
They kind of gave him a glow up.
Yeah, because before he just looked goofy.
Right.
He's like, oh, guilty. I'll do it again. But now I do see like I guess it's the way the face paint is done along with that grin, and his eye just looks really, really sinister. But yeah, it's a flower. No, it's a man. The flower man he must have like 3 ballistas with freaking harpoons on him. And the fact that he just like straight up just bodied it immediately, it was just like, oh, okay. And at the bottom of that page in the lower left-hand corner, just the stare down between him and Sanji. And then Sanji being the first one to snap, because I think that was him to get it like we're talking like older gruff guys, where it's like he's gonna size you up and stare you down, not say anything. And then based on how you react, he knows what kind of person you are.
He's clearly confident in his position.
Yeah, and Sanji freaks out. It's like, say something, darn you. And then freaking Usopp, you looking for a fight? We'll take you on. We got a cannon. And then just like the sinister look, almost like the whole like, do you want to fuck with me? Like you see in some of the anime, it's like, forget it, somebody's going to die. And Sanji's like, oh yeah? Who would that be? And the guy's like, me, you got a cannon. Like, yeah, obviously. Oh, I love that. And then Zolo is just like, all right, calm it down. And then he's just like, you know, it's proper etiquette to like introduce yourself before you go storming into somebody's house. He's like, oh, you're right, I am sorry about that. And then goes into an introduction, and immediately after, he's fucking with them. He's fucking with them really hard, and it's great to see. Because Zolo is immediately just like, I want to fucking kill him. And I just love how he's just like, yeah, you invaded my personal resort, which I gotta say, pretty neat.
Just to point out, Dylan, it was a good call out, because you don't see Zoro lose his cool like that. You don't see a ton of Zoro sharp teeth fang.
Yeah, exactly.
Panel.
Because It was sort of like the whole like stereotypical like master swordsman thing, which we definitely see later.
Like stoic and not letting himself kind of be swayed by his moods.
Crocus got his ass.
Because like there's a saying I've heard before. It's like warriors are like steel. When they lose their temper, they lose their worth. And it's like, all right. It's like anger is a powerful tool, but it can also be a hindrance at the same time. Because anger with direction, useful. Anger with no direction, dangerous. And then like everybody's kind of like, and it's like we can get out how? It's like right there. You see that giant door on the horizon? That's it. And then they eventually see that it's painted, which is why I said Truman's Show.
Yeah.
It's like very much reminiscent of that. I like the reveal of apparently Boone's doing something, everything gets turned up and everybody says, it's like, hold on, that's not an island, it's a ship made of metal. And then they're like, oh wait, we're not in water. This is stomach acid. We have to, now time is of the essence. Because their ship is just going to dissolve. And then we meet Mystery Man, Mystery Woman. Mr. Nye, Mrs. Wednesday. I don't know how I feel about them as characters. I'm a little meh. There's all that going on. And they're honestly here to, from what we pick up, to kill the whale for food. The Flower Man he decides to go swimming in the stomach acid, which I'm not very surprised about that. He just gets in and swims. And then when he does that, you see underwater, which I think that's a great scene to kind of like let you know. It's like, no, this is the stomach of a creature. See all the bones, the ship mast, the ship wheels, all the non-digestible remains of its prey. I like that
panel too.
Yeah. And then Luffy's deciding to run along with the momentum, and then I've had points like running down a hill, and there's people in your way, and you're like, you gotta move. There is no stopping. Like, momentum is going. I can't stop.
Reminds me of Austin Powers. Move, or I'm going to hit you.
Move. Ah! Yeah. Ah! Ah! So he hits them. They all go flying into the water, and then we find out the reason he went in the water is he's sedating. The reason he stays in here is when Laboon is hitting the red line trying to break through and hurting himself because he will eventually kill himself. He's on the inside applying sedatives to keep him from hurting himself, which is kind of sweet. It kind of makes me think of like someone trying to foster like a problem dog. Mm-hmm. Where it's like the problem dog is just doing a lot of it because it's in such a shutdown mode that it's doing stuff that's going to harm its chances, but they're doing everything they can, no matter what, to try and rehabilitate this animal so they can have a happy life again.
This is all very sweet. Yeah.
And then, it kind of touches me. Again, necessary for the whole story? Probably not. But, I lost his name. I'm going to call him Flower Man. But, he comes out and Crocus, yeah. He comes out. He's definitely dealt with Mr. Nye and Mrs. Wednesday because he's like, yeah, you're never, as long as I'm around, you're never going to get Laboon. Like, fuck off. And then they have RPGs, which is pretty cool. Let's see, there's a thing. No, well, it's not RPG. It's like shoulder-mounted cannons, which there were versions of cannons that were able to be held two-handed and shot. Cannons that were meant to be like, because I think in Fallout 4 you can get like a cannon you hold to. They did have things like that. I mean, they weren't super popular because, for Christ's sake, it's a cannon. And there's a shitload of recoil on that, and it's going to rip your arms off.
Right.
And then again, this is one of those situations of someone that you have no idea. They have some kind of inner power that just you don't understand why. Like with Zolo, the fact that he can take a nap and recover from mortal wounds. Like with Arlong, the fact that it was like seeing how Frankenstein monster he was cut up and took a nap was fine.
He did have to have a doctor work on him.
But the fact that it's like he took a bit of a nap and was able to fight for a bit. It was like, oh, Jesus, you should have been out of commission for a year. Which was a line. But he dives out and he takes to the chest the cannon shots. And and like you see a panel of him after, he just looks a little shooken up, a little dusty. You get the whole background of Laboon, which is pirates ran into him because he's not a creature of the Grand Line.
One of the Blues, West Blue, I think. Yep.
So like kind of getting that vibe, and he's followed the pirates around, and the pirates became his pod. But that was 50 years ago, and now he's sad, waiting for his people. He thinks, oh, maybe they got to the other side. I need to get to the other side, but he's too big now. That's kind of sad. That's pretty much all I got for this chapter. Not a bad chapter, but again, like I'm starting to see where you guys are like.
I will say I'm always impressed by Oda's character design. I really enjoyed the full body shot of the Flower Man, who we do find out is named Crocus, which is indeed a type of flower. But yeah, I like when he fully introduces a character like that with a full body shot, gives us a good idea of, it helps us conceptualize it in a way that just seeing their face wouldn't necessarily. It gives us a good snapshot of who they are as a character. And then, yeah, we find out why Laboon's nose is so beat up. Poor little thing is hurting.
Little.
And I have thoughts about that, which I will get into later, but I do have a lot of empathy for Laboon. My main notes for page 7 are another babe. Miss Wednesday's hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just gonna put it out there. Hello, Miss Wednesday. Very attractive female character.
I hope to see you on Thursday.
Yeah, right? Am I right? But yeah, always love a little bit of eye candy. And then we find out a little bit later on in the volume that she does have some substance to her. She's not just a pretty face. She is part of something much bigger. I just want to point out the shot of Crocus diving into the acid with the skeletons at the bottom. That was metal as fuck. It was so metal. I was like, God damn, man. I only just met you. You're pulling this shit out? Yeah, it was super metal. Yeah, and then this is when we find out Laboon's name and that Crocus is his caretaker. Also, just kind of a little bit of a funny notion I had upon seeing what Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine are after. I didn't think whaling could happen from the inside. Usually you kill a whale from the outside. Although I will say, with regards to kind of like these cultural references we have to being inside a whale, I think I recall things happening about maybe killing a whale from the inside, or maybe I'm just making that up. I'm not sure. But it seemed like a weird concept to me in reality, but in this surreal environment that we find ourselves in, maybe it's not all that surprising. So yeah, whaling from the inside. And then yeah, we get some of Laboon's backstory, and as expected, it does kind of tug at people's heartstrings. I've mentioned similar moments in the past, but we're kind of getting like a Hachiko moment where you have an animal that it's waiting for its master, right? It's a classic in storytelling. It is not the first time that this has come up in this particular manga. And like I said, I am gonna get into it a little bit later. This section for me, the Laboon arc, so to speak, as much as I wanted to have, well, I did have empathy for it, but it felt
been there, done
like
that,
something I have seen before. Exactly. Been there, done that. Not bad, just not, I guess I kind of wanted / expected a little bit more. I know this is kind of like us dipping our toes into the Grand Line, but I wish I had a little bit more to chew on, so to speak. But yeah,
it did seem like a drastic momentum shift.
Right.
It's like,
we're going from high action,
okay, no, we're not.
high octane to this. And I understand that part of it is for the benefit of the pacing. You can't have full on action all the time. I don't know that this is where I would have taken it personally if I was writing it, but that's okay. But yeah, that's all I had for 103. Really didn't have that much.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop on. I'm gonna say was it Hachinosu?
Hachiko?
Hachiko all the way, bottom to top. I did not know the term until you guys mentioned it during the volume where I think was Orange Town, Buggy.
Yeah. The dog at the pet store.
Yeah.
Yes. And yes, this is very reminiscent of that. You know, you had me a little bit on the dog, which I did care about the dog. I just want to put that out there, but
I didn't care about the dog. She's a liar.
We'll see your tier list. I know where he is on my tier list.
So, if I may, without judgment, I thought this was actually better than the dog, but still something we've seen before. And while Laboon is absolutely an empathetic character and the story is sad, seeing it before just weakens the emotional impact a little bit. I have a soft spot in my heart for whales. I'm a big fan of them. I wish that no human would ever kill another whale. They're intelligent and beautiful and majestic. And also, I want to point out that Japan has a very muddy history with whaling. You know, globalization and all that has put a...
So long as it's not as bad as shark fin soup.
I think they've stopped. Yeah, I think it's kind of stopped. But I think they were kind of pretty late on the conservation.
They did not want it because it is a very cultural thing for them. I did a little just skimming research on it. You know, it's a part of their history and everything. But, I mean, we've learned...
a source of clean burning oil.
I digress. But yeah, this also goes along with the very surreal thing. There is a whole construct inside this whale wherein an old man nurtures and takes care of this massive creature, and there's hallways and structures just built. I do want to point out, V, let me know if this reference makes sense to you. I think it will land with Dylan. The Crocus's house reminds me so much of Kame House from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I've watched plenty of Dragon Ball Z. Yeah.
Okay, I know you're not like a big Dragon Ball Z.
This totally landed, and it totally makes sense. Absolutely, I see it.
Well, whether you're a fan or not, if you grew up in the 90s, you probably know what we're talking about.
Well, Kame House, I don't think it's a underground reference. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is here. But, you know, some of the more casual niche, some of the more casual might not catch that. But either way, and Oda, as many manga creators was heavily influenced by Akira Toriyama. Mm-hmm. So I see a lot of that in the design here. And yeah, R.I.P. I thought it was good. Dylan didn't really love it, but I liked Mystery Man and Mystery Woman, Miss Wednesday and Mr. What was it, 13 or something?
9.
They gave me Mr. 9? Okay.
I think so.
They gave me huge Austin Powers vibes, and we'll see more of it as they go
like
along.
60s secret agents. Mrs. Wednesday was giving the fembots, you know, with the titties.
Machine Gun Ghiblies. I should have noticed those before.
and I'm here for that.
We should watch that.
We all are big fans of Austin Powers.
Well, it's like you mentioned how I didn't like them. It's like, okay, you're part of a mysterious organization. Like, why do you have to like refer to everyone as like, oh, that's a dude? Nah, he's in the group. He's a mystery man. That's a woman in the group? Nah, mystery woman. We're really secretive. It's like, no, it's like being a secret agent and bragging about being a secret agent.
But that was the narrator saying that.
Yeah.
Crocus taking 2 rockets to the chest? Hell yeah. Let's go. I like Crocus. I think he is a great character, but at the end of the day, I do think that this little thing kind of interrupts what was a very energetic start to this volume, and that's okay. That's okay. We have to, I think V touched on it, we have to have A to have B. We have to have the story building and the yada yada to make this a, 1,000 chapter story.
Well, I mean, Michael, you won't get this reference because you didn't go on the excursion with us, but like the momentum shift kind of reminds me when we were on our excursion in Nassau, and there was like the 3 people on our excursion. They're like, "Wait, is this the Jeep thing?" It's like, no.
Yeah, we had there were like 4 people or 5 people that were on the wrong excursion, and they just realized as they were getting on the bus, and like
after very clear instructions were given, like super clear, very easy to follow instructions were given.
And I guess that taps into the feeling of just things being sort of out of place and disrupting the natural order of things.
Right.
And that's kind of the vibe that
because we had the detour and dropped them off at their lot.
Yeah.
Which props to that tour guide. He was
right.
Awesome. It's like kind of like, oh yeah, we're gonna go do the Taste of Nassau. Okay, no, we're not. We're going to go drop some people off first. Now we're going to go to the Taste of Nassau.
Yeah, Laboon's story, very sad. I think it, again, is more... It inspires more emotion in me than the dog. Sorry. But also, the SBS...
Heartless bastard.
The SBS, people are still asking about penises, I think. Maybe I have just a dirty mind, but someone asks... Is Buggy's
13-year-olds.
Is Buggy's penis detachable? I think is what they're getting at. Like it's always, is everything stretchy? Is everything? If Buggy throws his penis at me, I'm leaving. I'm freaking the fuck out.
It stretches, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like pick your...
So push comes to shove, how big could Luffy be?
Push comes to shove what, Dylan?
Yeah, this chapter was fine. The highlight for me was the introduction of Laboon and Crocus. I like them. I like them as characters.
They're cool characters,
but there wasn't a whole lot going on. I put a check mark next to setting and characters, an X next to plot and story. So.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
God, the dreaded
Chapter
X.
104 is Dylan.
So just
Okay,
making sure we're taking a break after this, right?
Yes, because I kind of got to pee, but I can hold it a little bit longer.
I went already.
Oh, I didn't even see you leave.
Maybe he didn't leave.
Yeah.
Diaper Dylan.
Yeah. Woke up this morning, took a shit, got out of bed. Leave that in.
Oh, I am.
I want to point out, it's really weird. I got really confused. At the end of this chapter, you have chapter 104's cover page.
Right, yes.
Which is odd. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the end.
I think that's Shonen's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the topic of that cover art, I like it's Garp again, which
Garp.
I want Garp. I want him to actually be featured in the manga. I want to see more
I
of
think
him.
we might.
The whole explanation is that the reason I got hit is I was asleep. It's like, bro, like you're doing a prisoner transfer to someone like Captain Morgan, and you're sleeping while standing. This motherfucker unhinged. He crazy. Like, I don't want to fuck with this guy. And that better be a mask and not be one of those sick things where it's like you took the skin of an animal and wear it. Because if that's the case, I hate Garp and I want him to die. Now, if it's just a cute little manufactured headpiece, it's a different story. And now we're showing it some background. It's like, no, it's like the Grand Line. Shit changes on a whim. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Blah, blah, blah. More Laboon story. Luffy, I don't know if it's a moment of insight or just like an instinctual reaction. It's like, oh, well, you're waiting for them? All right, well, let's do this. And he stabs Laboon with the mast of their ship.
Yeah.
And the thing's like, what the fuck, dude? And he starts getting in a fight with it.
I have thoughts on that.
Which I like. And it's like, as the fight's happening, it's like, all right, it's a draw. And Laboon's like, what? And it's like, he's pretty strong, right? And it's like, you know what? We're not over yet. We'll have to set it later. But I'm coming back. And a little fucking tear in Laboon's eye. I believe Luffy. I like the way that ends. It's like, we're gonna fight again. Like seeing everybody's just like, yeah.
It was worth ripping the mask off.
Yeah, the mask was already busted. Because you see a couple shots from the other chapter where the mask is snapped off. But you see the bois, like the way it's like written, and seems more excited, whereas other times it seemed a little more
sad,
lamentatious, like sad.
Lamentatious, my guy.
Yeah, I know a big word or two. That's it. 3? No, not gonna happen. But yeah, again, the shift in pace is really odd. The more we talk about it, the more it's like, man, we got to the Grand Line. The Grand Line's been typed up.
Yeah,
it's
now
like,
we're
hold
here.
on. Stop. Check out this whale. It's all sad and shit. It's like, okay. But yeah, I mean, that's all I pretty much got. I mean, it's not a bad story in and of itself. I feel like it's just put in the wrong spot.
Agree.
Like, if this was going to happen before they got to the Grand Line, it's something like there was a town before they entered the Grand Line, and this was the whole story. It makes a little more sense, but I ain't a writer, so that's all I got.
Yeah.
B?
So, yeah, Dylan touched on a lot that I had for this chapter. I gotta say, we're starting off this chapter with, like, a whole mood. So, at the bottom of page 2, Crocus says, "Ridiculous, I'm too old to look after a bunch of reckless young fools." And I was like, I hear that. Like, I feel like the world's...
Is that how you felt on the cruise?
Kinda. I feel like the world's best doctor would feel out of their depth having to deal with the Straw Hats' shenanigans and the consequences of those shenanigans. Like, I get it. I felt for Crocus in that moment. And then, yeah, the story kind of brings us to Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine again, and we're obviously going to see them again in not too long, actually. And I have to admit, I'm kind of with Sanji on this one. I'm not the same level.
She's got the hypnotizing spirals.
Yeah,
right on her titties.
exactly.
I mean,
I'm not the
He's like,
same.
oh, yeah.
I wasn't trying to stare. She hypnotized me, I swear.
I'm not the same level of simp as Sanji is, but
sometimes.
I do fall
When it comes to Zolo.
for good-looking characters, and Miss Wednesday had it for me. I'm looking forward to seeing more of her, if you know what I mean.
She's a curvaceous babe,
At
dude.
the time, I didn't know what it was that they dropped. Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine do drop something that will become very important in the upcoming chapters and probably the next few volumes. At the time, I was like, is it a collar or a bracelet with a bell on it? Like, I was identifying that it was an orb, but yeah, right? Like, yeah, I've seen those collars before. Anyway, so yeah, I was very curious about that little device. And so this is kind of where I get into this as we're going over Laboon's backstory a little bit more. As much empathy as I do have for Laboon's situation, this feels like a story I've heard countless times before. I think it is relevant to establishing context, but it's not moving me in the way that I think it wants me to be moved by it. I think the story wants me to be more emotional about it than it actually is making me. To be fair, they also delivered shit like Belmar's story, which absolutely annihilated me.
You gotta stack it up against what you've seen already.
Right, exactly. So I was like, okay, like it's sad and it is a little moving, but it didn't get me the way I think it wanted me to be got, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like again, like good story, just in the wrong spot.
Yeah, exactly.
If you put it somewhere else, it probably would have hit a lot harder.
That very might be the case. It's misplaced or mistold or just not particularly relevant to what we're trying to get to, is what I was feeling. Okay, so Luffy. Monkey D. Luffy. He has a way of having really good intentions, but going about it in a really roundabout and destructive way. And this is a perfectly good example of that. I understand what he wants to do. I understand that he's wanting to give Laboon something else to live for and not just wallow and wait. Like, I get what he's trying to accomplish here, but I wonder, just for a moment, if there's not another way for him to achieve the same goal instead of destroying what was left of the ship's mast and then stabbing a whale right in the nose to provoke it. You know what I mean?
I think so.
It just reminds me of like a toddler trying to make breakfast in bed for his mom.
And it's just a complete
it's like it's so
mess.
Sweet but destructive as shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The kitchen.
It's like, I made you toast. Why is the kitchen on fire?
Exactly. The kitchen is a war zone. The food, not that good, but the intent is there.
That's fucking makes your heart melt.
It does.
It's a great comparison.
When you see
And
the kitchen.
no, that's spot on. And I feel like Luffy
mad.
does that very well. He's done it before where I'm like, why did you do it like that? But somehow he makes it work.
Why are there eggs?
Right? So, like, I like it, but, you know, it's Luffy. What are you gonna do?
It's part of his charm.
It is. It's also part of what makes him annoying. It's very much both at the same time, as far as I'm concerned.
I feel like more and more every day.
Oh. But yeah, that's what I had for 104, really.
One thing I wanted to point out, after the Austin Power vibes, you know what else kind of vibes I got from Miss Wednesday and Mr. 9 or 13 or whatever? Team Rocket.
A little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
When they
Jesse
throw
and
them
James,
off the ship, I got like Team
We're
Rocket.
blasting off again. Yeah.
I imagine they've probably seen failure.
You'll see us again, twerp.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, their boss is like, it's a fucking Pikachu. No cares.
Right. Oh my.
It's a
that could be
Pikachu.
its own podcast in and of itself. Though I'm not even going to start touching on the...
Pod Fruit does Pokemon.
Sanji really doesn't care about Laboon, it would seem, based on his comments. Like, he's like, whaling is its own argument, but... Yeah.
I think he would like to cook Laboon if he had the chance.
Honestly. Right. He does not...
It's like, I know it's endangered, but imagine how good it tastes.
Yeah, I thought the backstory again was cute. It was fun. It was sweet. It was heartfelt. It was sad. But we've seen it very recently. Like, if you're going to give us two of these types of Chinochu, Hachinosh,
Hachiko?
Hachinu. If we do sad and emotional, like you've all said before, it's very nearly impossible to top down there.
Fair. Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
It's like, wait,
I expect
bro,
that
we
they
gotta
will
get a
try.
lot of action in.
Yeah, but I don't know that I'm going to be devastated by anything in One Piece as much as I was that. But yeah,
right.
We'll see.
In conclusion, I literally wrote, with some dots after it. Again, a fine chapter. Weird way to kick off the Grand Line. Characters were good, but the storytelling just left me wanting more. Mm-hmm. So that's 104 for me. V, you will start 105.
Yes. Going back to the intro image story here for a little bit, I'm not sure how I feel about the zebra print on Morgan's sail. But I gotta say, if anyone can pull it off, it's him. The guy has an axe. It matches his prison clothes. So it matches the prison, and the guy has an axe for a hand. No one's gonna make fun of him. No one. So go off, King. So it's so the Straw Hats. I don't know what's more comical, the poorly drawn Straw Hat Jolly Roger on Laboon's nose, or the shot of Luffy grasping a fucking gigantic paintbrush that looks to be at least as tall as he is. Like, what is happening?
Where did that come from?
Right? Where did it come from?
And also he's got
how did he use it? Like, how did he get up there? Also, just so many questions, but he's
a stretchy guy.
You know, that's fair. But yeah,
it's a relatively sheer surface, though.
Yeah, it's a sheer cliff, and I don't know how much traction you have, how much you can grab onto. Anyway, we're not going to get into how we can actually get around to painting. I love
the little band-aid.
Yes. Also very cute. Yeah, so we do get a good chunk of lore building in this chapter, starting with the explanation as to why the regular compass doesn't work on pages 4 and 5, and that becomes a very important part, I think, of what navigation is going to look like in the upcoming chapters, and why, although Nami is a very, very skilled navigator, she is about to face some shortcomings, which we will witness. So I'm not surprised that the Grand Line would throw that kind of curveball to navigators, and it seems that Nami is not immune to it. And then we get a little bit more about that lore building. As I was saying, we identify what the orb was in the previous chapter, and we find out that it is a log pose. And yes, rather serendipitous that they happen to find one. More things are going to happen. Anyway, and then we build on the lore building, and we get Crocus's explanation as to how the magnetic fields they eventually converge to lead to the last island of the Grand Line, Raftel. And of course, that is where Luffy wants to go. And kind of speaking of Luffy, I really enjoyed the half-page panel of Luffy with the bones in his mouth, grinning and visibly excited at the thought of reaching that destination. It's so
especially
Luffy.
The bones part of it.
Yeah.
Well, in the line, it's until we
get there, yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, that was a really good moment. And then once again, ladies and gentlemen, we witnessed the effects of Sanji's thirst. I love a chivalrous man, but maybe we want to stay cognizant of our surroundings and don't ruin everything for everyone.
I mean, Luffy did eat all the food.
Yes, but then Sanji broke the log pose. They're very lucky that Crocus happens to want to give them his log pose, but it was certainly a moment of, what the fuck are you doing, Sanji? What people will do for the attention of whom they desire. Okay, so I think, low-key humoristic, but I think I just found my new favorite character, Mr. 13. I love otters.
Oh, and the tummy smacking.
Oh, and the little rocks, and the little the little shellfish, and they're holding hands, and they're so cute.
They're also vicious and will
I love that he's igniting the fuse with the clam on his belly.
I know.
That was so great.
It's so good. I really love otters. I think.
Oh, buddy,
I love otters too.
If I lived in a Harry Potter world, my Patronus would probably be an otter.
Okay, Hermione. I think that's her.
Is it Hermione? Yes, it is Hermione's, or one of them, Hermione or Ron.
Which I get. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Connection land.
Yes, it does.
This is a rat.
I love Mr. 13, and just to have an otter be flying on the back of a huge vulture and spreading utter chaos makes me unbelievably happy.
Surreal.
Yes, absolutely.
God, did somebody slip LSD in my tea before
Right?
reading this manga?
I thought I was sober. Wait, no. I like the back and forth between Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine and the Straw Hats. How it's like they're sucking up to them until Nami reveals that they brought the log pose, and then
It's like, oh, you're useless.
Right, and then they get right back onto sucking ass again when they find out that they have crocuses. Like, the line they say is, "We appeal to your kindness and compassion," and I'm like, okay, guys.
It's very Jesse and James of them.
It is.
Yeah.
That is very Jesse and James.
I love it because Nami the whole time was like hook, line, and sinker. Which is like, oh, but Crocus gave us his.
Yeah.
Wow, you got him.
Yeah, we got down on our knees and begged, and you're stuck here too. And then they fall back to, anyway, that was funny. And then, obviously, Luffy's decision to help Wednesday and Nine is going to backfire. I knew that at the time, and I know it now. But at this point, when I was reading it, I was just curious to see to what extent this was going to bring chaos and destruction and danger and adventure and thrill, all of those things. So that's about what I have for 105.
And to defend my boy Luffy, another task successfully failed.
Right. Sometimes
again,
he fails successfully, but this time he successfully fails.
Successfully failed, yeah. Yeah, he fails a lot, but he's always failing forward. And that brings about growth. Okay.
I don't know about growth.
Well, he's not learning anything from
No,
it, but
everyone
everybody
else around
is.
him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So someone's benefiting from the lessons he is not learning. No, but again, Luffy's lack of artistic talent on display.
Yep.
It's just kind of like,
I love it. That's one of my favorite bits so far.
It's so cute.
It's like, that's why I don't play drawing games in Jackbox. I feel you, Luffy, but you're cool with it. You're about it. You're like, oh, that's great. Whereas me, I'm like, oh, that's dog
Dylan,
shit.
do know that no one's ever going to judge you for that.
I mean,
we judge you for other things, but
and then again, like another like really quick glimpse into like life on the merry-go. You got Nami's like, all right, I'm going to start plotting out our voyage. She's starting to set the charts out, mapping out how they're going to go about it. Sanji working in the kitchen, carving up the elephant true bluefin. Which, man, I don't like fish, but I mean, if Sanji cooked it, I'd probably try it. Although
for all his shortcomings, he is probably a great cook.
Stop smoking while he cooks, yeah. It's like, dude, it's like if you bring out a dish and it smells like cigarette smoke.
Ashes in the food. It's my special sauce.
Yeah. But then you got Usopp, he's repairing the mast. It's like, Zolo, give me a hand. I'm not the carpenter. And Zolo, of course, is, again, replenishing his bottomless tank with another nap.
If I could, I would. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, same.
I mean, well, be honest, I've probably slept a total of like 14 hours today.
Dylan, you deserve it. Anyway.
That's how I make up from the work week. All right. Sanji again. It's like, oh, Nami, my queen. Are you screaming because you're hungry? I have lunch. And Usopp's like, yeah, fuck yeah, lunchtime. I get Usopp. And it's like, comes to find out, it's like, oh, the compass is broken. It's spinning like crazy. And then we get some exposition from, God, I keep forgetting his name.
Crocus.
Ketsuke, where the fuck did I get that from? All right, Crocus, yeah. I mean, he's like, Sanji comes in with the bluefin, where Crocus is just like apparently grilling up some glizzies. Because you see him standing there with a tray of, I assume, is hot dogs. And a
Crocus
spatula.
is cooking?
Yeah. Spatula on hand, tray of what I assume is glizzies. That has nothing to do with the story, but I noticed it. But the fact that it's like, hey, like there's a lot of exotic, mineral-rich, like exotic minerals on these islands. That's why the magnetic fields you can't travel by. And the whole exposition of how the log post works. It's like, no, you have to lock in on an island, and then you track that in the post until you get to your destination. You fucking clear it out, lock in on another island, then you fall. Like the way you navigate it, when you get the thing of like the whole like all paths eventually lead the same way. It really makes me think of like roguelike games.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like you choose a different path, but you end up at the same goal. Like really cool concept. So it's like, oh, I could come back, and which at this point made me like, okay, the Grand Line was the big deal, but it seems like the Grand Line could be for lack of a better word, reran.
It's different for everyone who goes through
several
it.
times. Right. Yeah, and you get a different result every time you go through. You have the same destination, but the journey is different.
The whole like converging to one ultimate destination kind of does bring back the idea of fate to me. Like that whoever enters that series of islands and whatnot is going to end up in the same place. And I wonder how that's going to play with our Dylan's theory, the one that he brought up earlier, you know, kind of
where dragons just an embodiment of fate.
or, you know, kind of touching on that subject that we've had a taste of so far, but nothing concrete yet.
And then the whole delivery of Raftel, it's the last of the island of the Grand Line. In all of history, only one group of pirates is known to have landed there for sure. The crew of the Pirate King. Stuff of legends. And who's up? Like, is that where it is? The One Piece? Oh, he said he drank. and also when I read that, like in the back of my mind, I was like, can we get much higher? Anyone who's in the One Piece realm knows.
We will see the meme soon enough.
Yeah.
I have a specific place to introduce it.
Okay, thanks.
Again, the panel of him with the fish bones in his mouth is like, you mean until we get there. Very powerful.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a good Luffy moment.
And then the panel after is like, all right, let's go. I'm done eating. It's like, you ate the whole thing. Oh my God, he ate the bones. It reminds me of that KFC commercial.
Yes, I wrote that.
About the boneless chicken. Yeah. He's like, you ate the bones. I ate the bones. So stupid, but it worked because I still remember
this reference. As a Canadian, do not get it.
You wouldn't.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why America's better. Anyways.
Okay, whatever.
Anyway. And then I think Sanji's a little... Even though his intentions are simp-ish to start with, if I were to cook, like spend a lot of time and cook a really decent meal for a group of people I cared about, and then one person was like, damn, this shit tastes good, and ate all of it, and no one else got a chance to eat it,
yeah.
I'd be fucking furious. I'd be like, bro, you're never fucking coming over here again. Fuck you. Like, because you didn't even taste the food, you just ate it. Like, I would be furious. It's like, dude, no, you ate everything.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And I don't even really blame him. I mean, even though it's like, I wanted Nami to have the best part. It's like, all right, you fucking loser. But like, I don't blame him for breaking the log post so much. It's just an accident. And then, and like the immediate thing where he's like, look at Nami. He's like, why do you look mad, honey? Darling, my queen. Why do you look upset? And also there's the panel earlier when it's like, she's like being explained how the compass doesn't work and she didn't know. It's like, oh, Nami, you're even cute when you don't know stuff.
Ugh. Yeah.
Ugh.
Like, just
Sanji,
just don't.
Sanji, I want to like you. I really do. Like, you're making it hard. You're such a cool character, but your downfalls fall so fucking hard.
I really don't want him to have peaked on the Baratie. You know what I mean?
I don't think he did.
Yeah, I don't want the Arlong moment where he interrupted the guy to be the only moment that I was like, this guy's badass. That was hard.
He's got some stuff coming up, I promise.
That goes so fucking hard.
I'm sure. We'll see.
But, and I love again, the sea otter, hilarious and adorable. But definitely, with that happening, it's like, all right, the Team Rocket vibes. Like, now that you put that analogy out there, it's so fucking hard. Like, it's the only thing I can think of now. But I love the scene after that is, like, them all coming out of the water where it's like, there's Wednesday's Gak, there's 13's Gak, Sanji's Gak. And then Luffy's like, because Luffy's like, I can't swim. I was going to die. Like, this is a breath that I thought I should never get again. Where everybody else right? I'd be okay. And I like how they're all like, oh, and it's like, it again, definitely like Pokemon Team Rocket vibes. Like when they just randomly bump into each other out in nowhere. And they're like, oh, it's the twerps. Like, oh, it's Team Rocket. And then it immediately cuts to like, allow me, Miss Wednesday. And it's like, oh, thank you. And then he's like walking away with her. It's like, man, sometimes you're smooth. That was kind of smooth. But other times it's like, ew. And then, like you mentioned, V, like, it's just like, oh, please, in your ever graciousness, oh, please help us, please help us. Well, it's broken. And it's like, you guys are fucking useless. We're going to be stuck here forever. It's like, well, actually, we got another one. But again, this is one of the things where it's like, just a lot of like explanation. Not a lot really happened in this chapter, but like the depth of how to travel on the Grand Line was explained.
Mm-hmm. The name of the chapter was Log Pose, and I think that kind of
was very on the nose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is it's a really cool concept. It's very informative, but again, like we've mentioned several times, like we did need this information, but I feel like we could have maybe skipped the Laboon stuff, put it somewhere else, and just had the log post stuff immediately. It's like you get there, you stop, and you're like, okay, now we need to go. It's like, well, hold on before you go. This is how you navigate, and I have all that there. But, again, I'm not a writer. The last line. This is why I think Crocus is part of Roger's crew. Could that bunch be the pirates we've been waiting for all this time? That boy has a strange air about him. Roger? I think this used to be a crewman. Like, I'm starting to...
Maybe.
That's theory. I'm throwing theories out there. I think he was part of Roger's crew.
He's at least familiar with them.
He definitely knows of them.
He's been here for over 50 years.
And he's old enough to have been an adult during that time, so...
Yeah. He used to be a ship's doctor, too.
Yeah.
It could very well be that he was Roger's doctor. So that's what I took away from it. But that's all I got on that chapter.
So, I enjoyed this chapter overall, but I feel like the log post stuff was a little Deus Ex Machina. If you guys are familiar with the term, Deus Ex Machina means God from the machine. Yeah. No, Dylan, not a game. It's a literary term when a plot point comes out of nowhere and just kind of...
It's like, hey, you need to know this. I don't know how to tell you, so I'm just going to tell you.
It's not just info dumping. It can be just having the item that you need to get to the next place.
Yeah, it's kind of a plot device where something that you used to think of as unsolvable suddenly becomes resolved.
Yeah, because of A, B, or C.
Yeah.
Which, it's fine. I don't think it leaned too heavy in it. I thought that the writer, Oda, tried to resolve it a little bit by destroying one, but then he immediately had another bauble ready for the team to use. And I think that helped it a little bit, kind of getting away from that kind of Deus Ex Machina vibe. But there was a plenty of good moments from this chapter. Zoro did not take part in almost any of the discussion here. He knows his place.
Yeah, but his place is about to come. I mean, wording. Phrasing? Never mind. You know what I mean.
This part's about to start breathing.
He's about to come. Zoro's about to...
Things are going to happen for him soon enough.
Right. But he knows that this is not his conversation.
Exactly.
He knows that this is
he knows
not
his place. Again,
yeah.
I love a self-aware king.
I ain't there for the navigation. I'm there for the fighting. Wake me up when the fighting
Loved
starts.
them just throwing the two Baroque Works members, as we will come to see, overboard. And then, yes, V, 100% am in love with Mr. 13.
I know.
And,
so good.
And his vulture companion, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head.
Miss Monday?
I think so. That sounds right. Cracking the shell to light a fuse is...
Miss Friday. Sorry.
Miss Friday.
Miss Monday
okay, perfect.
is the sister. I think.
Yes.
We find out later.
The lady, with the circle titties.
No, Miss Monday is the nun.
Oh, yeah.
Miss Wednesday is the titties.
Yes.
Anyway.
I wasn't staring. She was hypnotizing me, I swear. Stop judging
I just want to say that Baroque Works hires animals, so good on them. Equal opportunity employer, clearly.
Do they pay them, though?
I don't know.
Well,
they probably don't get paid as much as the humans. They pay them in clams. And yeah, I thought the last panel was very enlightening. Roger? Name drop, am I right?
Yeah, fucking this guy, name dropping everybody. Fucking wow, okay, you knew Roger.
But yeah, I thought
Roger's
this...
a pretty common name, dude, I'm just saying.
It could be any Roger. This was better than either of the previous two chapters. The plot moved forward in a real meaning.
Going on the gas.
Right. The plot moved forward in a real meaningful way, and the exposition was given to develop the world. I liked it, even if some of the development was a little ham-fisted. That's just manga for you. That's just anime and manga for you. I liked it. I liked this chapter. I haven't disliked anything we've seen, but it's still not great overall. Again, I'm comparing this to what we've seen before and what is soon to come. 106 is Dylan.
Well, we got our boys, Helmeppo and Kobe, back at it again. I don't know, based on these, I might, Helmeppo stood up to his dad. His haircut's still dumb. His shoes are fucking gaudy as hell. Might be getting a little bit of respect for him. He was like, you know what? No, my father was wrong. I need to go back to my friend Kobe. It's like, fuck yeah. And then now, this is kind of cool. Like, we open up, and then it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, it's winter. And sometimes spring. And now we're starting to see, it's like, he warned us about it. It's like, now the seasons change on a whim. Stuff goes crazy. Yeah, but we see a little more of the crew life. Of course, Luffy, being a little goofster, done. It's the man who fell from the sky, Mr. Snowman. And then Usopp, like the whole, like, the anime trope of, like, the super glam shots of a guy being condescending. Where it's like, look at, like, side profile, it's like, oh, I'm so beautiful, look at the depths of my soul. Like, you know, am I the only one getting that?
But anyways. Do not get...
But then it's like, behold my soulful masterpiece, the Snow Queen. Yeah, because, like, anytime there's, like, a condescending, like, oh, you think you're so good.
You're specifically referring to the panel on page 2 at the bottom left.
Yeah, at the very bottom. It's just anytime you see something like that, it's like, that guy's being a condescending asshole, and he thinks he's hot shit.
But then fucking eyelashes drawn? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, exactly. It's like the glam shot. It's like anytime the anime throws a glam shot in, it's like, okay. But then again, like, you know, he made a snow hottie, which I think that very much reminds me of, I'm so bad with names. It's the friend who gave them the merry-go. I want to say
Kaya, yeah.
Kaya, yeah. Yeah. Very much Kaya-esque.
Yeah, with the long blonde hair. Well, I mean, it's snow
hair.
So, yeah.
But that's a snow hottie. And Nami's just like, how can they have fun in a serious time? Like, it's winter out of nowhere. Why are they having fun when it's like, bro, it's snow. It's a snow day.
I get that.
I mean, as a Canadian, I could not give two shits about snow.
Well, that's
I mean,
my
it's
thing.
fine, but it's snow. I've seen it before.
It's like the contrast of being a kid to being an adult.
Right.
Oh, man, if there was snow, I would still go frolic.
Snowed. If it's snowing, it's like, oh my god, it's snowing. I'm going to go out in the neighborhood. I'm going to hang out with all the buddies. We're going to have so much fun. When as an adult, it's like, I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck at home. I can't drive. I can't go to the grocery store if I need to. This is inconvenient. Whereas kids are like, oh, fuck yeah, it's snow day. It's like, to me, that's that contrast. Because before, this kid loved snow. Nowadays, it's like, oh, great.
Well, we don't really get snow days in Canada. Yeah. Even if there's a blizzard outside, unless it's really bad, your ass is still going to work. you got your winter tires on, the roads are plowed, you're going.
Full disclosure, when I was working at Five Guys, I definitely lied. It was like, oh, you know how we had that freezing rain? There's a lot of trees in my neighborhood. My hill's still frozen. I can't get up my hill in my car. I can't come in.
You're lying?
I could. I just
As a North Carolinian, I look forward to snow days.
Rarely get them anymore, but
yeah.
Well, I never get them out here.
Global warming.
Oh, it still gets cold. Wrong. Anyways. I love the cut to the Baroque Works people. I'm like, hey, doesn't this ship have a heater? And Nami just be like, what the? You're not guest. Get out there and help. Like, what is your problem? You get another thing. She's freaking out. It's like, what happened? It's like, apparently, you're going the wrong way. Like, looked away for a second, and you're completely turned around. It's like, because it was explained to us earlier that it's like, oh, it's unpredictable, but now we're actually seeing an effect of how unpredictable and chaotic it actually is. But then the wind changes, and they're like, first wind of spring. It's just like, this chapter really does a really good job of, like, really personifying the chaos of the Grand Line. Because, like, that whole next page, it's like, oh, there's an iceberg. Oh, the wind's shifted again. Oh, we need to row. Oh, and even the point where it's like, Sanji comes out and it's like, no, you guys do, like, because my understanding is, like, 8 to 10 hours went by where they were all hands on deck working the whole time. That's why Sanji's coming out. It's like, no, eat. You got to eat to keep your strength up. Like, keep working. Like, eat. So, all that was crazy. And then, of course, at the very end, it's like suddenly calm. And then frickin' Zolo's just like, damn. That was a really good nap. I was like, I mean, I know it's nice out and everything, but shouldn't you guys be working? And immediately I'm like, Zolo, I know you can fight, but fuck you, dude. Like, if I was working my ass off like that and you woke up from a nap, came out like that, I'd probably fight you. Like, no, you piece of shit. I am not a happy camper.
I think it's charming. But, you know.
Go ahead and do backbreaking work for 10 hours and have some motherfucker who didn't do shit. Like, he could have done better.
Yeah, but then he's going to pull his own weight later. He needs his time to rest for him to shine later on.
No. And I love... Not just the way Nami's drawn. Just like demon-esque kind of shading. It's like, how could you sleep through everything? We tried to wake you up for hours and you slept through it. And I don't know if like when he's like clutching the hit on his head, if he was like, ow, that really hurt. He was like, wait, what the fuck? How long was that? No, I think it's ow. Okay. Well, there's the question marks. It's all the question marks next to him. Is what originally I was like, oh, he's just hurt. And then I saw the question marks. Like, is he confused? Like, is he not like? Is he actually slipping into like? Slipping out in and out of comatose? Is that's what's actually happening here? Like,
that's a good point, but I think personally he's hurt.
Yeah. I mean,
he's gonna have to take another nap.
He's got like a triple scoop of knots on the back of his head,
and like sleep that one off.
Yeah. It's like, damn, you hurt me so bad. But then it's cool because Nami's just like, wow, my navigation skills are useless here, but fuck it, I'm going to figure it out. Like, doubles down on it and become like, that's a respectable moment for me for Nami. And also, like, it happened earlier and I missed it, but that same page, bottom right panel, you see Usopp kind of like, you see the back of his head and he's like, you sure you'll be okay? And like, seeing his goggles set up, I forgot to mention it earlier, he like pulled one of them down. And it was like kind of like a little scope that he was using to look ahead. I thought that's a really cool like costume design piece. It was in like a chapter 2 back. I missed it, but
what was he doing
back
for?
It kind of brought it up. It was when they were coming down the reverse mountain.
Oh, okay.
And they were trying to see what was up ahead. He pulled it down and it like flipped up, and it was like a little binocular. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I mean, for a sharpshooter, having something like that makes sense. And then it's an island of giant cactuses. I like that shot. Just half page panel.
Reminds me of Arizona.
You know what? Maybe it's not so nice. It's just really hot. No one likes it there. It's Whiskey Peak, and every time I see it, like I see whiskey when it's more like, you can't see me doing it, listeners, but like it's meant to be like whisking with a whisk. But I hear it, I'm like, oh, it's like the alcohol whiskey, but it doesn't have the E before the Y.
Okay.
But immediately as they pull within, again, Team Rocket vibes hard as shit. As soon as like they're in sight, they're like, we're blasting off again. We'll see you later.
But this time we want to blast off. Yeah.
Yeah. We do it on our own terms sometimes. Oh. And they're like, what the fuck? They're going, who are those guys? It's like, who gives a shit? Let's just land. But then they're kind of having discussions. It's like, well, we got to go in there. It's like, there might be monsters. We don't know what we're facing. There might be monsters we might have to fight. It's like, well, we can just run away if we need. And then Nami's like, well, actually, this log post sometimes only takes a couple hours. Sometimes it may take days. That was cool. It's like, you get caught on an island of monsters. You're stuck there for like 5 days. You got to fight shit off. Could be fun. But as they're pulling in, people see them. They're like, oh, it's pirates. Fuck yeah. Woo, pirates. Let's go. And I just love the scene of like, Usopp's like, oh, pirates are heroes to these people. And he's just kind of like blowing kisses out to the crowd. Because, of course, it's Usopp. Of course, that's how he reacts.
Yep.
Loves attention. Boy
needs that validation. I mean, I get it.
We all do.
Oh.
And then we get introduced to Igor Rapui. That's Igor.
I think that's close
Rapui.
enough. Yeah.
That guy.
Igor Rapui, Mayor of Whiskey Peak. And then he's always talking, he's like, me, welcome, my name. Me. It's just the constant interrupting him, me, but like never actually like singing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what the fuck you doing, dude? Like, either sing or don't. But like it gives the whole thing. It's like, oh, like welcome to our town. It's like we're an ale producing town. We have the best ale around. We're so happy you're here. Let's have a party. Of course, Usopp, Luffy, and Sanji are like, fuck yeah, let's party. And then, which I'm kind of surprised because that Zolo wasn't like, yeah, let's go. Because Zolo is usually like, let's get some booze.
He's the alcohol all about guy, booze,
yeah. But he and Nami are the reserved, more level-headed people in this encounter. Which is because like I've always seen like, I wouldn't call him an alcoholic, but he's always like, yo, if I can get me a beer, dog, I'm getting a beer. But this time, like when it was mentioned, it's like, oh, we have like unlimited amounts of ale and alcohol, and he's kind of been like, those guys are being little idiots. But yeah, that's all I got in this chapter.
106. Kind of coming back to what we were talking about with the snow and everything. I was happy to see a little bit of a slice of life moment as Luffy and Usopp are making the snow people and playing in the snow, even though it feels very strange to me that there be that amount of snow accumulating on a ship in the middle of the sea. Like, I don't know how accurate that is unless you're like, well, I mean, it is surreal and it is the Grand Line and the weather is ever changing and it's not meant to be realistic. But I'm trying to think realistically, would that amount of snow be able to accumulate on a ship in the middle of the ocean?
A snowman's worth? Yeah. It's not even a huge ship, if we're being honest.
Right. Exactly. So I'm like, really? But, suspension of disbelief as we are in One Piece and certainly not in a textbook about meteorology. So
do bring that up. There is an interesting point. Ships that do sail in the Arctic and stuff, people have to go out and break ice.
Oh, I believe
so it
that.
doesn't capsize.
I would rather.
So it's possible.
I would believe in freezing rain more than I would in snow enough to make a snowman on a ship.
Okay.
There's a difference as far as I'm concerned, but I mean, the thought of making a snowman on a ship sounds kind of fun. Albeit maybe a little dangerous, but it sounds kind of fun. And, you know, throughout all of this, Nami is burdened with her task, so to speak, and it's reiterated once again that Nami might be a great navigator, and she is a great navigator, but she's never sailed something like the Grand Line before, and I'm positive that she will face many learning moments ahead. I feel like she already has, and this will continue, I am sure. At the bottom left of page 6, I personally love that Zoro was still sleeping and that he has to be woken up to help out. And as he wakes up, just in time for everything to be back to normal, to be fully, like, to the credit of the people that have to live with him on this boat, he kind of does deserve that smack to the back of the head at the bottom of page time. Yeah. Even though he's just a little sleepy boy. He's just a sleepy little boy. He just needs a nappy nap. But I get it. I'd be like, really? Right now? You're handsome. You're beautiful. I love you. Don't change. But really?
Motherfucker, pitch in.
Right.
You don't pay rent. You can help.
But I am wondering kind of what Dylan was talking about. Is this not the result of his prior injuries that he's still trying to get over? You know, is he still in a situation where he feels the need to sleep to get better? Like, is he comatose or, you know?
Or was it narcolepsy? The
narcolepsy, yeah. Where you just randomly fall asleep.
You fall out and there ain't no bringing you out of it until you're done.
Yeah. Again, I'm a big fan of these kind of lore dump moments, and I appreciate the care that's being put in explaining how things work in general. Like this time, Nami explains how the log post needs to actually log the magnetic fields on each island. So I feel like that establishes potential future plot points, and I think it aims to explain ahead of time what might happen in the Straw Hats' experiences with those different islands. It kind of sets that baseline, so to speak. Usopp really cracks me up at page 15 when he says, "I think I'm coming down with better not visit this island fever."
Oh, God, yeah.
I was like, okay, Usopp. I mean, unsurprisingly, so it is Usopp.
If you don't want to go,
just say so. Exactly. It's just like
he did.
Right, but he could have just said, "I don't want to go," instead of saying, "Oh, I think I'm coming down with better not visit this island fever." Like, come on now.
Oh, now he's definitely going. I'm making him go.
Right, exactly. As Dylan pointed out, I like the aesthetic of Whiskey Peak. The huge cacti are really cool to me for some reason. I can kind of imagine myself being there and being amazed by it. As someone that's never been in a desert, I find that fascinating and interesting. What I don't care for, however, is Igarapoi's looks. I can't. Especially not the hair. I can't do it.
At some point, someone says his hair is way too curled.
Yeah, it's a Luffy's like, "Mister, you curled your hair."
I think I mentioned it. I mentioned it later in my notes, but this reminds me of like Swiss rolls.
Oh fuck! Now I want a Swiss roll. Those are so good.
They're so good.
Pro tip: put them in the freezer.
If I may,
take them out and just let them thaw just for 5 minutes, but still kind of so good.
But cosmic brownies, I'm done.
I do love cosmic brownies. Yeah.
They're a lot. It's not something that's like I would snack on all the time, but they're so
good.
Rich. They're
so
good.
We get them once in a while. And yeah, at this point, I'm positive something is going to go terribly wrong in Whiskey Peak. They are entirely too friendly, and I think Nami and Zoro kind of catch on to that. They seem a little bit less enthusiastic than the three others, I mean. They will, however, participate as we know, but as we know, they do kind of keep their guard up in the next couple of chapters. But yeah, Usopp, Sanji, panel, yeah, it's good with when you see the Vulture and Mr. 13, and and
he's still flapping away at his little clams.
Yeah, so shit's about to hit the fan. But in that moment, they are just going to enjoy their evening.
Right.
And that's what I had for that chapter.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the chapter, Usopp makes a beautiful sculpture. And I want to just kind of call back to way earlier in the series when Usopp draws a passable Jolly Roger. It's his face, so it's never going to be accepted.
He's talented.
He is an artist. And at the SBS, I don't know if you remember the SBS, it was Usopp's art corner. I can't help but wonder if there's some hidden artist deep inside him.
That's true. He's certainly artistically inclined, more than Luffy is anyway.
Well, Dylan's more artistically inclined than Luffy.
Well, if we play drawing games, I use words because I can't draw.
Luffy might as well.
Again, another great example of Nami being the crux of reason and survivability of this crew. Another list of her amazing talents. Love her. And yeah, so we saw the main mask getting replaced, but the figurehead's back. I assume Usopp just hammered some nails and some plates into it, and it's good to go. I don't know.
They made it work somehow.
Yeah, right. Luffy's seat is back. On page 17, I do want to point out that some of the villagers have their signs in German. We see Willkommen.
Oh, yeah, like welcome, yeah.
Yeah, and something else. I can't exactly read it.
Norlich?
Something like that, yeah.
Translate to. Let me see.
Well, you got to think the Grand Line gets all sorts. There's people
Germans
from different walks of life.
The word itself doesn't seem to mean anything, but it's close enough to the word natürlich, which means like naturally.
Naturally, you're welcome here.
Actually, no, I think it is Natulich, because that's Natu.
Okay.
RLICH. Yeah.
But I also thought that it ended on a very interesting and ominous note. Not just the last panel, but the last page, I guess. It's really kind of setting stage. I think it's a literary trope. The town that seems jolly and fun and fine secretly harbors a dark secret. You know?
But we haven't seen that trope before.
In this, correct?
So that makes it exciting to me.
It's fresh and exciting.
Is that little kid wearing a Michael Myers t-shirt?
That's Panda Man, I think.
Oh, shit. Okay, yeah. All right.
I'm pretty sure it's Panda Man.
Yeah. I think
Where's
you're right.
That?
Page 17, bottom, middle panel. I got Michael Myers vibes, but you mentioned Panda Man. It's like, that is way more reasonable.
It's definitely
Michael Myers. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this chapter, compared to what we've seen before, was fun. It's a step towards, the arc that we are embarking on. As we saw when we last ended our previous volume, Baroque Works is the name here. And mystery has begun to settle in, and I don't think it's subtle, and I think that's fine. I don't think it needs to be subtle. I think throwing the mystery in your face kind of works. Manga / One Piece here.
I think with manga you need to. You've got so much has to be portrayed by the pictures themselves.
Exactly. And yeah, it makes me excited to see what's next. Great Nami chapter. So 107 will be V.
107 starts off wonderfully, in my opinion. I love the image opening for this chapter for several reasons. I always love to see my sweet slumbering prince in all of his splendor, but mostly Usopp actually looks
It's looking kind of like a stud.
Like, what the heck happened? I think losing the bandana or the hat, whatever he wears on his head, which I think the owl is now wearing, it works for him. Like, I was like, oh man. I really enjoyed that intro image. Like, all of them look great, but yeah.
And also, who hurt Luffy?
I think he's drunk.
Alcohol? Yeah.
I
think he's just drunk.
But I think it's because he's hurt.
So, sure enough, we find the Straw Hats in their element. Usopp is spinning his tails. Zoro and Nami are drinking the town drunks under the table. Luffy is eating as much food as would feed 4 families. And Sanji is basically drowning in pussy. I just wish I didn't feel as though they're in imminent danger. We will come to find out that is a fact. But it's again, I really, really like those slice of life moments, seeing them in their element, seeing their personalities shine through. I like that a lot. Swiss roll hair man is sus as heck, is what I said in my notes. I don't trust him for shit, and nor should I. At that point, more specifically on the bottom of page 5, I made a mental note of the Jolly Roger design on the mailbox. that Wednesday and 9 put the missive in. The header says Baroque, and they're two, I think they would be rapiers.
Yeah,
talking about rapiers. Types of swords. I don't know.
Specifically basket-hilted rapiers.
Oh, Jesus. Rapiers. And then you see wings behind the skull. And, okay, this may be a reference that is lost on most people, and I'm definitely going to age myself. But totally unrelated, anytime I see or hear the word Baroque, I specifically think of Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast, like the clock man. And he says, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it. As he's giving Belle the tour of the castle. Anyway, so all that came to mind when I saw that was, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it. Anyway, I'm about to turn 34, guys. This is how old I am.
It's the new 18, right?
That's what they say.
Oh, God, my knees.
Right? I thought it was very comical to see Nami staring down a nun while downing a pint of beer. At the time, I didn't know who that nun was, but it just, like, her staring her down and just chugging. I was like, yeah, that's my girl. She's doing it.
Back in the day, I could have been that.
Yeah,
I could have been Nami.
Same.
A petite, attractive young woman?
Yep, that's me.
That's me.
A tank, as far as booze goes, I think is what he meant. Over the next couple of pages, we're kind of figuring out that they all seem to be part of the same organization. The men seem to have number names. Igarapoi is known as Mr. 8, which is a lot easier to say. I will stick with Mr. 8 from now on. And the sister is known as Miss Monday. So the women have days of the week, and the men have number names. Don't know what that relates to, but that is something I noticed.
I like it. I don't know what it relates to either, but I like it.
Yeah, just a trend. Maybe we will get an explanation for that, but we will see. So, we're getting into what I really like about the next two chapters, and that is Zoro. The way the way I swooned when we get the Zoro reveal at just everything about it. Okay, let me get into it. We're going to break it down.
Page 11, bottom left.
It's so good. All of it is so good. Okay. The half-page panel of his shadow in the moonlight while he sat on the roof was great. Really enjoyed that play in perspective. And then similarly, on the very next page, we're seeing the opposite. We're looking down at the bounty hunters from Zoro's perspective. I think that is something that Oda does really well, is that play on perspective. I think it's clever. I think it makes it, I'm going to use that word a lot, dynamic. And just, I don't know, just Zoro. I fucking love him so much. And yeah, similar, like that shot of, like, it's panning from over his shoulder and you see his swords on his hip and looking down at the bounty hunters. Just delicious, wonderful, amazing art. Also, he's hot. Anyway.
He's like Link. He's left-handed.
He is left-handed. That's true. Oh. Although he's, ambidextrous?
Yeah, maybe.
We do get a little bit of lore. We find out that the name of the organization is Baroque Works, which checks out with the mailbox and checks out with the name of this arc. So this is who we're dealing with now, is Baroque Works. I will not linger too much on the end of this chapter, but I adore seeing Zoro in action. I love the confidence that he exudes because I know that he can back it up. And he's shown that he has enough insight to accurately judge his own talent and that of his opponents. And for some reason, that is immensely attractive to me in people in general, and that certainly manifests itself in Zoro in the context of the manga. He knows what he's doing and he is 100% confident in it, and when he's not, he admits it. And I love that about him. I love him, and I will talk about it more during chapter 108. But that's what I had for 107. Dylan?
Alrighty.
I'm like out of breath because I was just talking about Zoro and I got so excited.
Oh Lord!
So enthusiastic.
Is it hot in here? Is it just me? Yeah.
Anyway.
The cover art is great. It's funky One Piece. Even though Usopp's like, no, it's not. Don't funk.
Stop funking.
Don't funk.
Usopp, don't you never tell me not to funk.
Now I'm going to funk even harder.
Yeah. But again, Usopp's, that look works for him. Like, you trying to get ladies?
That's how you do it.
Go with that.
Stop lying and wear less of the bandana. You got it.
Stop lying and just be really artistic. They'll fucking fall for that shit. Nami feeling herself in her little sundress. In my opinion, Luffy fucking lamenting over a love lost. And then Sanji kind of like hitting the points from him, like, hey, where's our goal? We don't know. It's the Grand Line. It's everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Ooh. And then I knew V was gonna love freaking Zolo and his bomber jacket, just snoozing out. It's a fresh jacket, not gonna lie. I will say, like, every time we get a chance to see the Straw Hats in a party scenario, I fucking love it. It's so much fun. It makes it feel like exponentially lived in. Oda's really good at doing that. Anytime there's a party scene, it's like really vibrant. You feel like you're actually there. All the caucus noise going on around.
He does devote a little bit of extra attention to the party scene, the reverie. Yeah. But of course, like, and the thing is, like, Usopp's telling a story, and then, like, this is kind of where, like, I got, like, a little inkling of, like, hold on, something might not be right, because he's like, anyways, so I said in a really cool way, get your flippers off my friends. It's like, that's a lame fucking line, dude. That's, like, lame as shit. And then it's like, oh, he's so cool. It's like, no, he's not. Like, no, something's going on. He's being placated. Everyone else makes sense, but him, And I must admit, our great escape from the compound had me shaking with delight. That's like, it's so lame, dude. Like, I learned to like you after beating Kissy Freak, but, like, maybe talk a little less. The drinking competition is hilarious. The fact that Luffy burns through 3 cooks just chowing down. And also, that guy, he's flirting with 20 girls at once. What a fucking poonhound. They don't say poonhound, but yeah, I'm with you. I love that.
But the hilarious thing about it is, like, you, like, stereotypical, like, fishmonger, like, sushi chef guy. He's sitting there with them. It's a bunch of women, and there's just one gruff-looking dude hanging out with them. That's like, oh, okay.
Dude knows what he wants.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Bottom left of that panel?
Bottom left? Yeah. No, it's the top panel, but it's the guy in the bandana smoking a cigarette.
Top panel, but yeah, he's at the bottom left.
Bottom left of the panel, yeah. That seemed out of place to me. I was like, wait, what? I mean, the party scene's awesome. Love that. You see Mr. 9 and Miss Wednesday being like, hey, well, this is how we can pander our excuse to Giovanni. But hey, the Pikachu's here now. Like, we fucked up, but the Pikachu's here. You can get him. It's like, I don't care about Pikachu. Why?
I've been trying to tell you.
Like, bro, we're stealing, like, Nido Kings and Queens, and you're about a Pikachu? What? Bro, I got a Mewtwo growing in a lab. What's the deal with
Pikachu's
Pikachu?
so cute.
There's hundreds of them in the forest.
The thing is, canonically, Ash's Pikachu is, like, astronomically more, like, it's like EV training kind of shit. Which is, like, how you take Pokemon games and make them not fun.
Great observation, Dylan, yes.
But still, everybody's having a thing. It's like, hey, I agree with Sanji's thing on the bottom left panel on page 6 or 17. You got a good couple drinks on you. You get to, kind of lay down and pass out on a cute girl's lap. Man, that is paradise. I feel you. You're still a simp, but I get it. So they're starting to get the reveal that's like, oh, we're kind of faking getting drunk because we're going to off these people. Never seen one of his films, but that bottom panel you talked about, V, on page 11, with Zolo in the moonlight. Never seen any of the movies, but definitely Kurosawa vibes. I think that's the right director I'm thinking of. Like, very famous for, like, Japanese samurai movie. Japanese director did a lot of samurai movies. That imagery just screams that to me. I think it's Kurosawa. And the line, which I mentioned this earlier, with the whole warriors are like steel. When they lose their temper, they lose their worth. A true swordsman never drinks himself into a stupor. Good line. And again, the over-shoulder shot of seeing all the bounty hunters. I'll take you on Baroque works. And then, like, oh, how do you know? How do you know who we are? It's like, you tried to freaking recruit me, but, I'm a lone wolf.
Yeah, sometimes we do forget that he is a former bounty hunter, yeah. Which
makes me think, Johnny and not Johnny, were they also solo, or were they part of the Baroque works? Who knows, because they were bounty hunters.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've seen anything that would hint towards that yet.
But we didn't see anything that hinted that they aren't. That's great. And then the line, it's like, all right, one more tomb. This is like, when I was talking earlier with you guys, like, oh, it really sets some stakes really well. When Igaropo is just like One more tombstone to adore the cactus rocks. And then it zooms in on the cactuses. What you think is the needles. No, those are all individual gravestones.
Oh, shit. I didn't put two and two together on that. Yeah.
That was fucking intense. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
They've killed a lot of people.
Top of page 14, I think, is where you get that reveal.
Yeah.
They'll usually pick up on some small details here and there, and I'm here for it.
I might be an obtuse motherfucker, but every now and then, I get a cute. Yeah.
I feel like what you just said is the opposite of obtuse, so.
Geography,
Well, no, I said I'd be an obtuse motherfucker most of the times, but every now and then I get a cute, like, small details.
Which is geometry.
Geometry, Jesus. Man, there's a reason why I am not a mathematician. And that right there should tell you why. Anyways, this is an example. It's like, kill him. Wait, where is he? And I was just kind of like standing in the middle of him. I don't know, where'd he go? And it's like an instant when something like that happens, I'd be the motherfucker and be like, no, I'm out of this fight. I'm done. Like, you guys tried.
I actually was drinking during the whole party thing.
Yeah. I wasn't. I'm going to start now knowing that we're fucked. So, peace out. You guys have fun. And just when they realize he's in the middle of them, like, he has such a, like, I would describe as a very Luffy moment, which I feel like is why Luffy and Zolo are so tight. Just a shit-eating grin on his face. It's like, so, you want to fight? That to me was just like, boom. Like, that's why he gets Luffy, because in some form of the sense of the word, like he's the same in a different way. But
they're both confident.
He loves to test.
But I feel
limits.
like Zoro does it with more awareness than Luffy does.
Yeah, he's a lot more self-aware. He knows his limits. Where Luffy's like, I don't have like. No, it's a bad example. Also, like Luffy is Superman, whereas Zolo is Goku. Like Zolo, like he knows he has limits, and he continually pushes himself to break past those limits. Whereas Superman has no limits, which would explain why Luffy acts the way he does and why Zolo is a little reserved at times. But it's a
comparison that I would need to think on.
Yeah, it's again a bad it makes a crumb of sense. But anyways, and then the thing, it's like hurry up and kill him. There's only one swordsman, and then he sticks his sword through one of the Swiss rolls. It says, but wouldn't you prefer a dozen more tombstones? That's a cold fucking line. That's cold as shit, dude. That we're talking about metal as fuck. That's metal as fuck.
Yeah.
But also, that reminds me, draws me back to a point I noticed. Again, the over-shoulder look, page 12, when he's looking down at all those bounty hunters. He seems like he's left-hand dominant, and it seems like that he always keeps... It's Kina's sword is what he uses as his dominant hand.
Okay.
Little detail, but to me, very important detail. But, and then, like, it's like, you get the little appetizer of the ass whooping that's probably about to go down. And like this is like, hey, Laboon, that was cool and all, but this is what we want. This is what we wanted and expected.
Yes.
For the whole volume.
Yeah.
But better late than never. So that's what I got for this chapter.
Yeah, I also liked the cover. Usopp and Sanji look like straight up degenerates.
They just look so chill and relaxed and like.
I also noted that Luffy looks fucked up.
Someone hurt him. Someone broke his poor little heart. Maybe that's just me putting a little of my life into it, but hey.
This is a group of gluttons.
They are.
If I may say
they fucking are. Yeah.
Hedonists, if you will, who have come together for their own individual goals, but also one major goal, but still. They love some pleasure and fun. Yeah, I love the party scenes. You guys nailed it.
Dude,
the parties,
he does so
Dylan,
well.
You nailed it.
Like, every time he's done one. It's been phenomenal.
It makes me want to party with them.
Fuck it, I want to party with Oda. I want to see how that guy fucking throws down.
I love Nami's passed out face, especially. Maybe this is just a little bit of my own bias leaking in, but with the twirly eyes, she looks like she's still conscious, but there's nothing more going on.
She's conscious, but that room is like fucking swimming.
Yeah. I think, again, I mentioned this before, but the mystery village where everyone's a little too happy and content is kind of a trope. But again, one we haven't seen and one that I think is done well. But you kind of see where it's going, I think, before it even gets there. And that's not a criticism. That's just something I noted. Oh, badass Zoro moment. 10 out of 10 Zoro moment. And it hasn't even really kicked off yet.
No.
I thought that this was and will continue to be his greatest moment that we've seen just yet. I was all in for it. Loved every minute of it. He was making this organization look like chumps.
Yeah, he made a bunch of them shoot each other.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's next chapter.
Yeah, he did it in this one too.
Oh, was it? Okay. But yeah, he was imposing. He was threatening. And I was loving every moment of it.
I'll admit it.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, I totally understand where V's coming from.
Right?
Okay, I hate to interrupt because I'm looking back at it and I missed it earlier. When Miss Monday comes out and she's like, oh, I was just drinking carbonated tea the whole time. And be like, should we had a feast though? Like, we have a food shortage? And it's like, you're a town famous for producing a shit ton of ale? Ale requires yeast. So you obviously have a shit ton of yeast. Why do you have a food shortage?
They're putting it all into alcohol.
Like, maybe, maybe make some
We could
bread.
be selling that alcohol, though. Or,
make some
make
bread.
Make some freaking bread.
You got a bunch of yeast. Yeah, start a sourdough starter, man. Like, you can keep that shit going forever. Anyway, sorry.
But in my notes, I guess I missed it while going back through with you guys, but they are literally massacring each other. And Zoro is just casually letting this happen by his own, movements and decisions.
Dip, dive, duck, dodge, and dodge.
He is massacring these people with no effort. And, oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. It's one of the best moments I think I've seen so far, not just by Zoro.
Just in general?
Not just by Zoro.
Well, I think you said it. It seems so effortless to him. That's just what his body is made to do.
And one thing I want to point out that the manga nor the anime covers, but the live action show on Netflix does, they actually have a scene of Zoro being attempted to be recruited by Baroque Works. And it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's all I got to say about that. But yeah, this was a good... No. This was a great chapter. And the build-up, the mystery... A lot of it unfolding here. You understand what Baroque Works really is. Was awesome, and Zoro's on a rampage. He's all in, and I adore it. V, nothing you've said about Zoro thus yet has been wrong. You are justified, especially in this moment.
I know.
Yeah, I was right. Get used to it.
I was right.
Dylan, 108?
Yes, sir. All right, 108 is kind of where, like, I have not held back my dog shitting on the whole three-sword style. Still think it's good for your shit.
Whatever.
But, with a lot of the action sequences, like, kind of like, because I feel like now you kind of really get to see how he fights, whereas before it was more just like, you get a shot, he fucks somebody up. But now it seems like, I mean... You got to see a little bit in Arlong, but I feel like this whole chapter really plays out his fighting style.
For sure.
Where it's really, like, acrobatic. Like, it reminds me of, like, Yoda versus Count Dooku in Star Wars Episode 2. Like, that kind of where he's just, like sliding under people's legs, slashing around, like
I don't know that Dooku was in over his head. Maybe I'm misremembering it.
He wasn't, because Dooku's considered one of the, like... nerd moment here. Be forewarned. Dooku was considered one of the best duelists out of the whole Jedi Order, which is why he had, like, the hilt was so controversial, because it was meant to be able to be used in a way to where you could dismember people easily in a dueling sense. But that's what I like, and you get to see him testing out the new swords he has, and that seems what he's most excited. He's like, oh, I get to fight a lot of people. I get to try out these new swords. Fuck yeah!
Yeah, he's excited.
Yeah, which is like. As a bit of a gun guy, get a new gun. It's like, oh, I get to take it out to the range today. Ooh, I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun. But it's like immediately he's like, all right, this is a perfect chance to test my new swords. Let's give them a good workout. And then he gets cornered into the house, starts dodging a bunch of bullets. And as he's dodging these bullets, he has a table, and he's like, a hail of bullets is coming at him. And it's like, all right, first it's Yubashiri. Running in the snow. That's what that means. I like the fact that he's putting little translations down there for me. I like that. It's like, oh, it's that one. But that's the first, the bottom panel of 6 is where I get the whole Yoda vibes, where he's being really like Bruce Lee kind of thing. Be like water. Water takes all forms. And that's kind of what he's doing. He's more flowing around. More in the sense of he's using other people's momentum against them than anything else. He's not trying to force you in a different direction. Right. He's trying to use your momentum to end you in the spot he wants you to end him in. Which... with a bit of a wrestling background, I appreciate that a little bit. And I like the whole, like, the delay thing, because he does that, he flips through him, And then, like, they're all like, oh, what? Like, I didn't get hit. What's going on? And he's like, oh, it's a good sword, nice and light. And then all of a sudden, blood spray. As all the cuts open up. And that's a middle panel, page 7. But again, a lot of him just, like, dodging bullets, using people's attacks against him to hit other people. Like when Miss Monday throws the barrel at him and he slices it into 4 individual pieces to hit the 4 people behind him. It's like, dude, and I love the line of that. It's like, damn, dude, like, come on. Couldn't you have thrown it empty? Like, that's a waste of beer. And and the fact that he used another sword, somebody's swinging at him with a stone mallet, and he just cleanly slices through it. Which going back to it, this is the blade that is cursed, per se.
Yes, it is.
They're shocked to him. He said, wait, what? It sliced through the mallet. Kitetsu 3 has a great edge, blade. But a legendary sword. Which is weird, because it's like, here in this, it's like, I mean, a bladed weapon's a bladed weapon, but the way you're talking about it, you're making it seem like these legendary weapons have a slight bit of sentience to them. Because the line, but a legendary sword should only cut when its master wants it to. Use the edge of a blade you wanted to cut, you fucking idiot. But that...
You can parry.
You can parry, but you don't parry with the blade of the weapon, you parry with the flat. Because if you parry with the blade, you nick it, and then you can't cut as well. Break it. Yeah. So you parry with the flat. And I also, again, that was a nerd moment. Apologies. Kid comes to stab him, he turns around, he's like, you stupid little kid. The kid's like, eh. And the other priest is like, oh, have mercy. And it's like, fuck you, we got you. And he's like, try that trick on somebody who gives a damn, like... And then he apologizes for using the back of the sword. It's like, I hit you with the blunt edge, I'm sorry, I should have just killed you. It's like, damn, Zolo, alright, fuck, you cold as shit, dude. And then it's like, this hits me like the next scene where he's like climbing up the ladders. He's like, oh, he's heading to the roof. Everybody get him. Everybody's climbing the ladders. Helm's Deep vibes. Where they're all climbing up the ladders.
Yes.
Like, oh, you're all on the ladders? Yeah. Kick. And then they're like...
Yeah, fuck these ladders.
And then the fact that it's like, bro, like, I get such Gimli vibes where he rides the last one down to be back on the ground fighting some motherfuckers. It's like, that to me was a toss me, but don't tell the elf moment.
Right.
I'm just references left and right. I'm coming from everywhere.
Don't say it like that.
Hawk Wave, that's a new move. And who knows? Maybe that was inspired by Mihawk. Who knows? Maybe. A little theory to throw out there. And then I love that, like...
Always throw out the theories, even if they're fucking grounded in nothing.
Just absolute bullshit. It's like, I don't know, that could work. Sure. And then I love that he hears the screaming. He's like, huh, people are coming this way. Starts carving out a little circle, like Looney Tunes-esque as fuck.
Yeah, I wrote that was nonsense, but I loved it.
Shit. And then he walks in, I'm looking out for that hole I made. It's like, bro, you scratched it. That wouldn't... That's not how holes work. You have to go, like, you have to remove the dirt. Like, it's... unless it's, like, completely hollow under the surface, that doesn't work, dude. For the moment, love it. Great. And then freaking Miss Monday, or... Other nun lady who wasn't...
Yeah, it's Miss Monday.
Other nun lady who wasn't the nun.
It was Miss Monday.
The other sister wasn't Miss Monday. There's 2 sisters. The one who used the cross with the gas tag.
Right.
She tries to body him with a ladder, and he dives. It's like, hey, wow, you nicked me. Where I'm pretty sure he's damn near killed like 30 to 40 people at this point. And it's like, you gave me a splinter. What the fuck?
You bitch.
And then she goes hard as shit. Grabs him by the neck, puts him some brass knuckles, and is like, goodbye. Lays him out. You hear a crack. The ground splits asunder. Igaropa is just like, oh, well, what a waste of time. And the next cut is Zolo's got her by the fucking forehead and is just squeezing.
Oh,
and he's just like, oh, you think you're strong? And
Game
she's
of
on
Thrones.
her knees.
Reminds me of
the mountain when he splits his head asunder. Yeah. And it's like, oh, it's like, well, I did this thing. There's a reason we're just saying this thing. And then I split her head open like this. It's like, you think you're strong? Want to see who's stronger. And he's just knocks her out, but just squeezing on her fucking head. That's fucking intense. That was like, so there is something about
the foam coming out the mouth.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you might have done some like cognitive damage. You might have caused brain damage. Because you hear crick. He probably cracked her skull. And it's just like, holy shit. And because of this is why I accidentally started reading like the first couple pages into the next volume. Just because the momentum was so heavy. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, let me start reading. And then I looked at our Discord and was like, oh, wait, no, it's over. But yeah, like, probably some of the better action, if not the best action we've seen so far.
I do not disagree.
That is all I have, V. Swoon.
Oh, Jesus. It's like this chapter for me was a chapter where I had so much to say, yet had so little words to really express what I wanted to express.
Yeah,
but anyway,
same.
let's start by the beginning, just keeping track of the intro image storyline. It seems like Garp has captured Helmeppo and Kobe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's...
Captured is a strong word. I think he's recovered.
Reprimanding them.
Recovered.
Like, hey, you did bad stuff.
Recovered and is now reprimanding. Yeah.
Right. Looking forward to seeing where that is going to land. And as Dylan mentioned earlier, I'm looking forward to seeing him as part of the manga.
Yeah.
Like as one of the characters, villains, whatever. I don't know what kind of person he is. Or dog. But
I think it's a dog. That's
yes.
why I want to see him more.
Yeah. He's a puppy. Okay. This whole chapter is incredibly, I'm going to say it, dynamic.
High octane?
I've said that before already during this recording. But yeah, to me, like the moment where it starts is when you see the bounty hunter perched over Zoro, like at the very top of page 4. That shot to me is what triggers the whole rest of the sequence of actions that we see unfold throughout the rest of this chapter. And then he like narrowly avoids a shell, and then the rest of his escape towards the roof. Like, I know I've said this before, but this is the kind of scene that I would like to see within the context of the anime.
Yeah.
I would,
Yes.
like, Oda does so well at expressing movement through his drawings that I'm curious to see how that translates when actually animated. So that is something I might want to see at some point. Big shout out to the barrel of brew be cut right in half. Always sad to see.
Half is a strong word.
It's more quarters, but...
Yeah. Well, yes, that's true. It is quarters. One way or another. R.I.P. booze. And then, as Dylan pointed out, I love Zoro commenting on the sword as he's clearly being chased by a bunch of bounty hunters. He recognizes that Kitetsu III handles, like, it handles well, but he realizes that it seems to have a little bit of a mind of its own, and that he'll have to watch out for it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where, like, I feel like this was perhaps a little bit of a, I don't want to say low stakes environment, but I feel like this is going to come up again, and I feel like it might get him into trouble if he can't get a good handle on that sword. Page 11 features what is to me a badass quote. Let me just find it again. Yes. Mid-page 11 when he says, use that sorry trick on someone with a kinder heart.
Oh, yeah. The
that
kinder
shit was
heart
cold
part
as
especially.
fuck.
And see, the thing is, I kind of refuse to believe that he's completely stone-hearted. But he
knows when he has to put the shield up.
Right, exactly. He has no reason to have empathy for those people, and I feel like he does not bother.
A child and a nun? Fuck him.
Well, he also knows who he's up against. Even
entertaining that thought. Right, he knows that these are his enemies, and he's not gonna get got by that, if that makes sense. He's, at the same time, like, he's very level-headed.
I think this chapter especially, this and the previous one, really emphasizes your points that you make. 100%.
Right, like, he's cool. He knows how to handle himself. He knows how to expect to handle his swords, even though this might change. But he is fully in his element, and I love that about this chapter. And I'm kind of, as I was saying when I started, I'm all over this chapter. There's so much I could comment on, but like I was saying earlier, it's so dynamic and action-packed. There's so much movement. It's thrilling, and I don't even know, like, where to start with it. Zoro seemingly manages to slip through every threat that comes his way until we get to the panel where Miss Monday punches him right in the face with her brass knuckles.
He's not even fucking phased.
That transition, like, of him being super in control and then just the instant twist of events felt very jarring to me. It felt like a disruption of the flow of action that was going on, and overall, this whole chapter to me felt like a great way to build up to that moment of, oh shit, something's happened, right? Like, I never really feared for him, but that was a moment that caught me off guard. Same. at the very top of page 17 is where you see the actual impact of the fist against his forehead. And just okay. My notes for this. The final 2 pages of this chapter were candy for me. Like, first of all, I'm a weirdo. Why do I low-key want him to hold my face like that too? Like, I think it's in the way he's drawn.
Track me, daddy.
His stance.
He has his hand in his pocket.
Yeah,
but that's exactly it. His stance is super relaxed. He's slightly leaning back. His other hand is in his pocket. Meanwhile, he's grasping at her skull with so much power. Oh my god. And then we get the close-up panel of his face. Okay?
Oh, brother.
Jesus Christ. Listen. This had me shook in the best way. Like, I'm gonna get a little weird, okay? But you see his tongue peeking out to lick the blood off from his lips. He has that assertive and assured look in his eyes, and he says, "Shall we keep going? I like to finish what I start." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely.
Punish me.
Yes, sir.
I've been bad.
No one tells me what to do, but he can. This is something that people have to earn, and he has earned it, and I love him. I just can't with this fictional man. Like, he is too good. And no other man in real life can even try. And that's okay. I can live in fantasy. I'm happy with that.
It's the most handsome panel I think I've seen in this manga yet.
Gorgeous. Those last 2 pages for me were magnificent. And yeah, just like that top panel of page 19 is everything I wanted out of this character.
Especially that I like to finish where I
it.
start. Is that the line that really got you trembled at the knees?
Well, and that shall we keep going? Like, yeah. Yeah,
why stop
we
now?
don't stop now. I don't want to lose my momentum.
Hey, yo.
Bro. Yes. And I don't know, maybe it's the fan of Queen of the Damned and Anne Rice vampires in me, but like, can I lick your blood off your face, please? Like, fuck.
You are a nasty person.
That's a good way to transfer.
I do not mean that derogatory.
You don't even know. But anyway, that kind of gives you a glimpse of things I enjoy. This is something I enjoy.
She is a scat fan. Probably.
Wait, no, back up a little.
2 girls, 1 cup, more like my cup of tea.
I don't know if she's a scat fan. I assume.
I'm not. Anyway, we're not going to talk about bodily fluids more than that. But
God bless it. That was exactly where I thought you were going, and I'm gonna be honest.
Same, dog.
I agree 100%. Without you calling me in, I'm gonna start.
Before you go, like I've made an observation. Zolo has definitely made a point of using only the new swords because when he's
testing them out.
Because when he hits the line, it's like, oh, this is the perfect time for me to check out my new swords. He puts up Kina's sword, and from that point on, he's only using his new swords. Like as V was going through, I was kind of like looking through all the panels. Like, oh, actually, yeah, no, like because the scabbard of that sword is very distinct, and I always see it put away, and I was like, oh, okay.
Dylan, I look forward to you keeping those thoughts in mind. It may not always be pointed out in exposition, but I'm curious. I do not think I have the eye for detail for that, but
we're relying on you for
it's
that.
Like you were talking about.
I'm gonna put you on Zoro Sword Watch.
What's when she meant?
Can I get the rest of Zoro Watch, please?
Oh yeah, you get Dick Watch.
I'm the honorary watch. You're the old guard, as we'd say. But it's like you see him distinctly put it away. Like it was when V mentioned the bounty hunters right over his head. It was like that's the last time he used Kina's sword. You see him like have his hand over it, putting it back in the scabbard, and from that point on, he's only using the new swords. Sorry,
right on, my guy.
Sorry,
man. I feel like a father, and Dylan has just learned how to read here. Okay, so I do want to draw attention to page 8, top right panel, or the top panel for those who are looking at one panel at a time. The perspective as the bullet flies past Zoro and his legs are
also that hip
wide
strength
open, letting it. Man,
if he had a stick, he would have lost his member.
I'm on Team V right now. I am full mast right now for this man.
Ready to set sail for the Grand Line.
Like, I might read this chapter on my own private time. Let me bookmark this real quick.
It was so badass, and that's where I'm going to start, is 7, because it's just great action up to there. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm looking to make sure, but I think some more RPGs, rocket-propelled grenade launchers, or just rocket launchers, whatever, are pulled out. Either way, this team has the resources at their disposal.
They're armed to the teeth.
And they can't.
And yet, they cannot keep up.
They're using guns against the swordsmen and they ain't doing nothing.
Dylan, when he slices the barrel, I literally put your name in my notes. Beer waste. Dylan would never. I couldn't come up with a more clever bit than that. That's all I got. But I loved the ladder bit when he was throwing the ladder down and they're chasing him up it. It reminded me of Aladdin, which is my personal favorite Disney movie. And it specifically reminded me of the song, maybe you know it, One Jump Ahead.
Yeah.
Yes!
I've watched Aladdin numerous times, Michael.
And it's one of my favorite Disney songs, Miss Monday. And then him just being like, well, I guess I'll just squeeze her fucking skull open. The panel where he's holding it, his face is covered in blood. He doesn't care.
Yeah, motherfucker's got a hematoma that's on the verge of exploding outwards.
God, I think I said this already, but I'm going to say it again. Not only is this a great Zoro moment, but this is a top One Piece action that we have seen thus far.
The only thing that comes close is the Arlong fight stuff.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Luffy
I think
hitting...
in some ways it surpasses it.
Yeah.
Some of, like, it's the same kind of level. Yeah. And the fact I think that we're focused on Zoro makes it... and not just because I'm a Zoro fangirl, but to be focused on a specific fighter makes it more meaningful and important, and it makes me focus on it more.
Dear
I think
Lord,
this is the first time we've really seen like Zolo actually go, like, because Luffy and Sanji,
he handled Hachin.
Yeah, but like it was one of those things like I handled him because he's a bitch kind of deal. Whereas like
he's handling hundreds.
Luffy and Sanji, they had their like ass whoop moments with the Arlong stuff. But I want to say this is the first time where it's like Zolo, just like, if you want to press him and see him be impressive, you gotta face him with 100 people because he's just that motherfucker. Yeah, right. And I love the fact, like, sorry to interrupt. I love the fact that every time they thought they were backing him into corners, it's like, haha, he's in the house. He's like, yeah, that's a bottleneck, you idiot. And the same thing with the ladders. It's like, oh, he's on the roof, get him. It's like, you're fucking stupid. Like, I want you to follow me up here. Thank you. So, like, there's a little bit of, like, strategy behind it. He's not just like, oh, I'm going to beat everybody up.
He gets time. Yeah. He has time. He does not have to
he is
react
setting the battleground the way he wants to, is the way I saw it.
Yeah, definitely.
He's in control. He's in control of everything that's happening. He's able to stay on top of it.
One of the first times we've seen that level of control in one of these fights.
Yeah. And like Michael was saying, that is kind of resonating with the Aladdin thing of being one jump ahead. He's on it. He stays on it.
Not a big Aladdin fan, so that's why I went with the Helm's Deep.
Oh god.
Well, I haven't seen it that much.
Maybe we should watch it.
I don't like it. I haven't seen it a lot. But Under the Sea. Come on now.
But speaking of problem children, he talks about his sword and then he immediately backhands a child with his sword. He has no qualms about hurting anyone who is opposing him, and good for him, nor should he.
Yeah, I get you're a kid, but you pulled a gun on me. Sorry.
This is not my summary, but I wrote as the last words of my notes. Badass. I wrote it twice.
Suicide. That's badass. That's Sunny. Always Sunny reference. Always Sunny reference.
He grabs her head. He licks the blood. God,
bro, the head grab was so fucking cold. And it's like, oh, you think you're tough? God. It's like, oh shit.
And just in summary, I said this chapter was amazing. Some of my favorite Zoro moments, if not some of the best moments. Period. Great action. Love it. And that's all I had for 108.
We done did it.
With that, Yeah, we did. We'll go ahead and go into our closing remarks. I believe V opened everything up here. V, just closing remarks on the volume as a whole.
I feel like this is a volume with kind of low lows, but very high
Some of the
highs.
highest highs. I
Like
can
that
remember.
ending, that chapter 108 is, and I'm echoing what you've just said, Michael, was one of the best.
Why did it have to stop
that
there?
we've seen
That's
so
my
far.
thing. Like, why could I not get bored?
I could do a whole volume of this. Like, it was
Yes, ma'am.
delightful.
Oh.
It was wonderfully paced. The way it was drawn was amazing, and we're getting Zoro on full display, in his element, in control, and just fucking wrecking shit up, and I love it. And I want him to keep doing it. And that just kind of tells me how much potential he has. Like, this isn't his final form, guys. It's only gonna get better. And I'm in
Bro, wants you
awe.
to fight Mihawk.
And I cannot wait for that fight. And like, I've wanted a Zoro t-shirt since I started reading One Piece, and now
Girl,
I'm like,
go buy you one. Like,
Don't search Zoro. You'll get spoilers.
maybe I need you
Alright,
guys to do the
Michael,
shopping for me. I need
find-
Michael to
find
do
a
the
safe
shopping.
t-shirt.
I
Shoot for
will.
it.
I will. I meant to, but I couldn't find anything that I thought was sufficient.
anything where he's licking
But
blood off his
just-
own face
I-
is about.
I'm looking at it right now, and if I could imprint that image in my mind for the rest of my life,
That's what some people in the
I
male
could.
sphere call a
I
spank
would,
bank.
and I want to. Like, my spank bank.
Hey.
Like, holy shit. Like, this is something strong and visceral to me. And because it's not just the image, it's the fact that it's him. And it's the
I
fact
think
that
the fact that the volume led up to this of all things.
it's perfect. It's perfection. That chapter is perfection. And I'm very excited to see what other moments of perfection we might see in the future. But this to me is a highlight. And like, I know I've spoken about the Belmar story being a highlight for me.
That was great storytelling.
I would say it's same level, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah, I get
right?
it.
But it gives me the same feeling of excitement and of like being so invested in the story and in the characters. And like, I was already a Zoro fangirl. Now my gaze will never deviate. I am his forever. That's it. That's just it. Those are my thoughts on the volume as a whole. Started off strong, dipped a little, and then ended on this like freaking, I don't want to use the word climax, I'm going to use the word apex. On just like, it was perfect. It was wonderful. I loved it so much. Dylan.
All right. Agree with pretty much the same. The big thought is before I was like, oh no, I really liked it. But like now, like rereading it, hearing y'all's thoughts, the Laboon stuff wasn't a bad story. I thought that was a good story. I think it was just in the wrong spot. Because it broke up. It was similar to it was similar
It
to
could have
Gaiman's
happened
Island.
before they entered the Grand Line.
It was like Gaiman's Island, where it just really broke up the pace. Because like Gaiman's Island, it's like, all right, we're going to the next spot. Fuck yeah, let's go. Oh, okay, secret. There's a dude with an afro and a treasure chest, and there's a pig ferret thing. It's like, what the fuck? Again, I like the Laboon story, but I agree, kind of really threw off the volume. I'll openly admit I have dog shit on Zolo from day one. Again, dipping back into my R.A. Salvatore, Dritz and like, oh, the mysterious swordsman. He uses so many, this is so cool. But now I feel like this is the first time we've ever really seen him in unbridled action. Where he's just been going off, and it's like, it's fucking goofy, it's fucking kind of stupid, but this motherfucker different. I mean,
But is
this
it
motherfucker
though?
He's different. Like, the holding a sword in your mouth, the dental trauma is still a little thing for me, but like, you can't see all my violent head movements I'm making while I'm saying this, but it's different. Like, the motherfucker knows what he's doing, and like, this is the first time, like, because before I was dog shitting on so hard, because it's like, onigiri slash, and it was just like, a panel of just slashing a dude. But this time, I'm actually seeing him in action the whole time. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And like I brought up the Bruce Lee shit like so many times. It's more like he's more super flowy with it, which we saw a little bit with Arlong, the fact that he like kind of like spun through Hachi's little spinning blade shit. But it's just like, oh, okay, all right. And like he's using his new swords. I really like the sword shit from Logtown. And now I'm seeing them in effect, and like there's actually like some depth to it. And it's like, oh shit, sentience and weapons? That's really D&D, but still kind of cool.
It kind of reminds me of the quote in Django Unchained when Leonardo DiCaprio's character says, "You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Dylan is going through that right now.
All right. Yeah. V summed it up. So that's all I got on this volume. But like, again, the Laboon shit, I liked. Wrong spot. Kind of fucked up the momentum, especially the way we ended it.
I would agree.
Because you said it's the apex. For me, it's like now that. We're at the top of the hill. The next volume is when we actually start going down the roller coaster and hitting all the turns and flips.
I'm so curious.
I hope I'm right, because if I'm wrong, I'm like, damn, like it was so good. But Michael?
Yeah, so I think this volume had a lot of different elements that it touched on, but I don't know that it nailed any of them, except for the last couple of chapters.
Let's be honest.
With the action. Yeah, this volume was 2 chapters. Plus the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the escape scene was dope.
It's setting up what's coming, and that's to be expected. You know, we just got out of a huge arc, so to speak, a huge saga into the next one, and yeah, I would say Zoro MVP. I will say though, like, I want to see Sanji. I want to have Sanji have a moment like this one. Where Sanji's going off, just beating the shit out of a bunch of people.
Part of me hopes and thinks that it will happen, like that each of the Straw Hats is going to get a moment like that, and then they might get more than one.
There's
like
what,
this is
1,400 chapters? Like, it has to happen at least once.
It's a lot. So, yeah, for sure, I think we are going to see more of that. Part of me is happy that we, like, quote-unquote, started off with Zoro, because we started off the journey with Zoro being the first of the Straw Hats after Luffy.
I like the ties I was making where like natural. He had the Luffy moment. And it's like, and the fact that they were like instantaneously bros. Like from the start,
and
we're like, I got you, homie.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the book on volume 12, and I'm going to lift the embargo on volume 13. As we get into this, I do want to show you guys, which I think was a great suggestion from one of our viewers, the cover for volume 13.
Ooh, yeah.
And just get your quick thoughts on what you see here. Dylan, go ahead.
Okay. Hold on, let me full screen. This is a little hard to look at.
So I don't think we've seen the top guy yet.
We have not seen...
The middle top person. The others are...
They're all
we have
Baroque
seen
Works
them.
people.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the bottom middle either.
That?
No, that's true.
That's interesting. Well, we're also seeing Mr. 9, I think, where he's got the 2 swords drawn. We really haven't seen...
Yeah, we have Mr. 9.
We've seen...
Wednesday.
Yeah, that's what's kind of interesting to me. We see the adorable Audrey and the Vulture. They're going to drop bombs. That's what they do. And it's adorable. That's just it.
Yeah.
We see Igaropa. We see what he does. The saxophone boy. He's got a saxophone shotgun. That's his thing. Miss Monday thought she was strong. Was not. But seeing Miss Wednesday and Mr. 9 in combat stances is like, oh, okay, we have not seen you fight. I'm interested to see you fight. And also the two, which top guy screams just fucking Matrix. Just something that just screams fucking Matrix to me. Which the bottom one was like 90s hip hop. It's like that's probably a bucket hat with some hoop earrings.
And I'm gathering that just
Luffy balloons at some point.
Considering the display, the tops are men and bottoms are women in this display, right? I'm kind of
typical.
So I'm guessing, yeah.
Any last thoughts? With that, I'll go ahead and close the book here. Thank you so much for listening. And of course, V and Dylan, thank you for contributing. So, I do want to remind everyone, live stream May 15th. Check us out. You'll get to see our faces And you'll get to hear our thoughts on the East Blue. There will be prizes. More information is on our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Discord.
The tier list. I'm excited about the tier list.
Yes, we're going to have some tier lists. If you want prizes, you got to fill out a tier list. And yeah, as always, bon voyage.
Bon voyage.
Ciao, Bella.